Grab your drinks and preheat your ovens. It's time for Chuckin Muffins. And today we're going to be going over free agency winners and losers. And what else are we going to talk about, Ethan?
We're gonna go over basically every signing that notable signing every team made. We're gonna get in some other stuff, some trades, who else is still available, and a bunch of other stuff. So let's jump in with the Anaheim Ducks. So they brought in Kevin Shattenkirk and Derek Grant in free agency. What do you think of their signings?
Honestly, I'm going to go over Grant first just because I don't know why I'm drawn to Derek Grant. He actually wasn't horrible at Philly. Like
No, he was great.
he was a very productive fourth liner. Like if you had him on your fourth line, he showed a lot of grit. But two, he could also produce, and he was a good penalty killer in there too, I believe. Shattenkirk was actually not a bad move at all.
No, he was great.
Especially the contract. They got 3.9 mil for 3 years. Yep,
Yep.
and they definitely added some sort of padding to their blue line that they pretty
Desperately
much needed.
needed.
Yep,
Desperately needed.
100%. Yeah.
I think Shattenkirk, he earned the contract. Like, if you look at it, Shattenkirk's making, I think, 9 point something mil next year because the Rangers are paying him 6 from the buyout and he's making 3.9. So, making like $9 million next season.
Yeah, I feel like Shattenkirk wins that more than the Ducks do because
After getting bought out from
Yeah.
hitting like rock bottom, he won a Stanley Cup, but he's making $9 million. Okay, good for him.
My God.
And
Jesus,
Derek Grant,
yeah, for real.
he's a good fourth line forward. He'll fill a role. He was with Anaheim earlier in the season before he got dealt to Philly. So he's played there before, so he'll be a fit. Coyotes, they actually didn't do anything for agency. So
They were looking to deal Taylor Hall, but his deadline being traded was October 8th, if I remember correctly. They never got anything done. His two target spots were Boston and Vancouver, and I'm pretty sure Vancouver was making like a really big push.
you're talking
And in fact,
OEL and Taylor Hall.
yeah.
You're getting confused
Did
here.
I say Taylor Hall by accident?
You said Taylor Hall.
I meant to say OEL. My mistake. Oliver Ekman Larson. His deadline to be traded was the 8th, and it was between Vancouver and Boston. Vancouver made a big push. I heard they offered Paul Podkolzin or Hoglander, one
Really?
of those two. Yep. And a pick. It never went through. They really want a lot for Ekman Larson. So.
Makes sense. He's a good defender to captain. Yeah, just I'm not surprised they didn't move him. It's just they were expecting a lot in return, and like especially with the cap is now, Vancouver, they have to sign Hughes and Pedersen next season, and Boston's always tied to the cap, just the way they're built. So to take on 8 million, especially with the flat cap and it not increasing, I don't think it was likely that he'd be dealt. So
Yeah.
and based on free agency, they really don't have any cap space to really bring in anyone in. So they mostly stayed quiet. And moving on to the Boston Bruins, we touched on a little bit. They brought in Craig Smith, so they had a little depth scoring. 3 years, 3.1.
How do you feel about that signing?
They've been rumored to move out DeBrusque. So
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah.
yeah, maybe they have Craig Smith maybe slide into a top 6 role. Like he can score 20 goals, put up 40 points. It's not bad.
Thing about Craig Smith is the year in Nashville was like really good. He put up 51 points, and now that Nashville is struggling like immensely, he put up 31. So that's actually still not even horrible numbers.
And what did he play, like 60 something games?
That's not. He played 69 games. Nice.
So yeah, he would have hit around 40 points. So
That's really not a bad sign, especially because DeBrusque is still an RFA right now.
How much cap space does Boston have? They have a good amount right now.
They got 10.3. They could pay him. They could easily pay him, but it's a matter of if they plan on doing that or not.
Because I don't know how much he's going to want either. He can want long term. He can go short term. I don't know. I don't know what the market is.
The Boston Bruins have also signed Greg McKegg from the Rangers.
I didn't write that one down. That wasn't notable.
What do you mean it's not notable? He was the best player on the Rangers in the playoffs.
That's not saying much. I could have been the best player on the Rangers in the playoffs. Moving on, Buffalo. They had a couple of depth signings: Tobias Reeder, Brandon Davidson, Matt Irwin, Cody Eakin.
Yeah, that's the only notable things Buffalo did in the free agency this year. Moving
on. And They signed the biggest forward on the market, Taylor Hall. How about Taylor Hall going to Buffalo?
Dude, honestly, this might be the one thing that they need to get this offense off the ground. Like,
Right?
I still don't like their defense too much. Their
They're top
goaltending is
six
still
though.
very, very shaky, but their top six forward core is
It's
ridiculous. I think
good.
if you put Hall
It's
and Eichel on the
really
same
good.
line, it's gonna
Mhm.
be it's gonna be fucking pandemonium. I think first line, if you make Stahl, Eichel, and Hall as your first line, that'd be unreal.
It's not going to be
I
Stahl.
mean,
Stahl's going to be the
not
second
Stahl,
line
not Stahl,
center.
not Stahl.
Reinhardt,
Fucking yeah, Reinhardt. That's what I meant.
or even you could throw Olsen on that line too.
Yep, because Olsen, he's known as a goal scoring
He could score 40 alongside Eichel and fucking Hall. Are you
Hall.
kidding me?
Yeah,
Score
exactly.
40, or even Skinner. Get Skinner back going. But their top six, it's good.
It
They have a
it
good top.
dude,
They
they
got
actually
Cousins coming up. They got Middlestad coming up.
yeah.
They got a good team, man. I like Buffalo. They got Tage Thompson too.
Yeah, those three young kids that you just mentioned, if they develop like within like enough to be an NHL caliber player, then I sincerely think Buffalo
Dude, they're gonna be good. They could be a dark horse to make the playoffs next
hopeful.
season. If they improve the defense a little
I
bit,
agree.
they can make a run at the playoffs. Because it's just a little shaky what they got right now. They got Deline, they got Ristolainen, they got what's his face? I can't think of his name. Uh,
Brandon Montour.
him too. Jake McCabe, that's who I was going for. So that's their top four probably right there, if I were to guess. I don't know who they got. Yoki Haru too. He's pretty
Yeah, they
good. He's
did.
he's young. He's pretty
He
good.
is
You
young. He
know,
could develop.
Buffalo, they could make a run
They
at the
really could.
playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they'll make it, but it'll be
Yeah.
close, I think.
That was still the biggest shock to everyone. Like
Yeah.
no one in the
And
world
good
was
for Taylor
expecting.
Hall. Nobody thought he was going to Buffalo. And hey,
Yeah.
he's gonna get the chance to play with Eichel for 1 year. He could easily, I'd say, have 90
And
points next season.
if he slides in like well and he likes it there, he might sign long term
He
with
could
them.
so if he's playing with Eichel, fuck yeah. Why the hell not? I think it's gonna work out for Taylor Hall. I think that's a good signing for Buffalo.
Dude, Eichel definitely was just like, yes! He was so happy. There's not a chance he was not ecstatic after seeing that.
All right, moving on to the Calgary Flames. So Calgary Flames, they picked up Jacob Markstrom and Chris Tanev, two former members of the Vancouver Canucks. What do you think of those pickups for Calgary?
All right, so I like both contracts in separate ways, but I also both have their ups and downs. I think
Mm-hmm.
Markstrom's contract, the money is definitely worth it, but they signed
The
him for
term.
6 years and he's 30, so that's a bit much. They're gonna regret that by the end of
Mm-hmm.
that. But for right now, they probably just picked up the last missing piece of the puzzle that could bring them to a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, their forwards gotta perform in the playoffs, and then
Yep.
they'll be there. You just got to get them going. They got a goalie now. They add some depth on the blue line. They still got missing pieces on the blue line though. I don't think they got I don't think their defense is like complete yet. Like we're not going to see the final moves yet. I don't think.
Definitely not complete. I mean, Giordano is incredible.
Mhm.
Hannafin, he looks okay. He looks pretty good.
They brought in
Raz
Tanev,
Rasmus Anderson looks pretty good now.
so that's the
Tanev,
top four. They got a decent top
that yeah,
four.
easily, yeah.
Just there, they lost Hamonic, they lost Brody, they lost a few guys, so they're gonna have to recoup. Maybe they bring in guys within, or they're gonna have to go. They have cap space, though, right? I'm almost
They
positive.
got 5.7. They could bring depth guys like Jack Johnson. No,
Nope,
never mind. He went pretty
he's
early
on the
somehow.
Rangers. Yeah, yeah, October 9th. Yeah, crazy. All right, moving on to the Carolina Hurricanes. They brought in Jesper Fast, former Ranger. What, since you know you're a Ranger and everything, what are your thoughts on that?
That is, I can't even believe that he signed for 2 mil for 3 years.
Yeah,
That's cheap. That's cheap for Jesper Foss. He's a great.
he's a
He had
great middle six forward.
he had a leadership role. He had an
Mhm.
A. He deserved it. He was an incredible penalty killer. He grinds every play. I sincerely don't understand what the hell happened on that one. That was a big miscommunication on that one.
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have room for him. Maybe they figured Lafreniere had a spot coming in. I don't know. Maybe Hedel gets an extended role. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like they needed to pay Fast. I don't know. I think it's a great pickup
Carolina.
for Carolina, though. It's great.
Yeah, no, that was incredible signing. Very,
Hmm. They
uh,
got a good team in Carolina, man. I like what they got going over there.
yeah.
Good
Like not only they
coach. They
got
run
the
well.
player they need, like the contract itself is like
He's a
a
useful
steal.
player. You know who?
Yeah.
You know what I think he's gonna do? I think he's gonna replace Justin Williams. I think he's gonna slide in probably where Williams is playing. If I were to guess, I'm not a Canes fan. I really didn't watch much of their games, but I don't know. Maybe he'll slide into what Williams played. So we'll see how that works out for Carolina. And let's move on to Chicago Blackhawks. So they re-signed Kubalik, 2 years, 3.7. Brought in Yadmark and Walmark. What are your thoughts on what they did?
Um, they got Yanmark, who he was decent. I mean, with
He's a good
the
defensive
Stars,
forward. He's a pretty
yeah,
good
no,
defensive forward.
he looked good. They extended Kubalik for that's that's gonna bring him right to UFA if I'm not mistaken. It's a 3-year deal.
2-year deal.
2 year. Okay.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
actually,
sure it
no,
still
I'm wrong.
takes him to
No,
UFA.
it takes
Oh, he's
him.
an
No, it takes an
RFA?
RFA. Yeah, I was wrong.
Okay.
Okay, so that's actually not a big deal at all.
That's a
For
good deal for the
3.7,
Chicago Blackhawks. All right, not bad.
3.7 for Kubalik, who just came off a Calder candidate year. So that's good signing. Good signing. I like the Yanmark one just because it's a short
Hmm.
term. He's pretty decent depth forward for 2.25. Not horrible. Um, they brought in Zadorov off a trade.
They did. Do you want to talk about that now or you want to get to that later?
We'll talk about trades later. But in terms of free agency, they didn't make a huge splash. They didn't really
They
go
don't have
out.
the
They
cap
let
space. They don't have the cap.
exactly. They let Corey Crawford go,
They did do that.
which was definitely a dagger to the chest of any Hawks fan.
Yeah, it must suck. Too bad. But yeah, I don't know. If they get Kubalik locked up, it's a good contract for him, but they're not gonna. I don't think they'll contend for a playoff spot next year.
I don't think so
I
either.
don't think their team's good enough. I don't think you can't trust the goaltending tandem they have. Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban. That's
Exactly.
no,
It's not-
no. They have barely any NHL experience, so it's complete wild card when it comes to that. So yeah, I don't know. See what happens with the Hawks. Let's moving on to Colorado. They re-signed a Chuckin 2 years, 2.5. Burakovsky 2 years, 4.9, and they re-signed Graves 3.1 over 3. So pretty good contracts for Blue Jackets already. Not Blue Jackets, Avalanche players already coming back.
I actually kind of like that Graves contract just because
So do I. Mm-hmm.
he's 25. He kind of developed late. I remember he was a Ranger, and then we traded him for someone he doesn't look promising at all. I was kind of confused as why we did that, but Graves actually fits in Colorado really well.
Wait, did they was it Begris that they got?
Yeah, Bigra.
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember that trade going through, and I was just like, why did we do that? Graves actually
Yeah,
looked
Graves
pretty
isn't
good.
bad.
And now he's making 3.16.
3.1.
Okay,
Is
yeah,
it?
3.1.
I didn't write down 3.16. I just wrote down 3.1.
It's a stupid uneven number. That's
Yeah,
all
whatever.
I know.
Mhm.
But pretty much, I really like that signing. Burakovsky. I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
I don't think it's bad. He proved last year that he can be a top 6 winger. He played good with Kadri.
Yeah, you're kind of right. Like he kind of sucked in Washington, but then
He
once he
never
got to
he's never given an
Colorado,
opportunity in Washington. Like
yeah,
they never gave him an opportunity in the top 6. So
yeah, and he's only what is it, 25
he's
years old, I
young.
think.
He's young.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, that's probably not that bad of a contract then.
It's not bad. And Nichushkin, Selkie winner, Valerie Nichushkin. But no, in all seriousness, he's a good depth forward. He'll do what he does. Solid signing for Avs. Blue Jackets now. They bring in longtime Wild member Mikko Koivu, 1 year, 1.5. I think good contract for Blue Jackets. Provide depth, leadership.
Yeah, I don't really see anything wrong with that contract. I mean, I understand he's 37, but again, it was only a 1-year deal. That's pretty
Yeah,
much
it's
what
solid.
those older guys are there to do. If you sign him short term, and especially cheap, if you could afford him, I think they got. I think they got a big offensive depth piece that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, he has a very good leadership role as a veteran. So I think great contract. I don't see anything wrong with it.
I agree. Moving on to the Western Conference champs, Dallas Stars. They bring back Khudobin for 3 years, 3.3, and bring back Radek Faska, 5 years, 3.25. What do you think?
Foxa, that's not a bad deal. He's kind of the same deal as the entire Dallas Stars offense in general.
Basically, yeah.
Like sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not. Like as in like production
They're
value.
all good two-way players. Like they're all good defensive forwards. They all can play
Yeah,
defense well. Just the offense isn't there for all the players on all nights. And Dallas, they still got to sign Gurianov and Hintz. So they still got work to do in Dallas. But
yeah.
Mhm. You go, my bad.
They might have to make some sort of move if they want to do that. It's gonna be
Uh,
cutting it close.
they have money they can move out. They have Cogliano. He's got 1 year left. They could probably move that contract. So they could move money around, but I don't know. I like the Fosca contract, 3.25, 5 years. It's pretty good term, and I don't the cap is not that high. And he was pretty good last year, so I think that'll be pretty good for them.
Yeah.
Detroit. Detroit Red Wings. They brought in John Merrill on a 1 year deal. Bobby Ryan goes to Detroit. He goes home. Thomas Greiss signs a 2 year deal. Troy Stetcher signs a 2 year deal as well, and so does Nemestikov. What are your thoughts on what Detroit does?
Um, I mean, for what they could do without it being completely useless, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said it like pretty much any podcast leading up to this one, like they're not gonna do anything good like right now. Like signing a
So
big
there's no
guy
reason to. There's
would
no
be
reason to.
pointless. Honestly, I think the best thing they did there was maybe getting Grice, but I kind of
I
like that
think Grice
Bobby.
will be good. So do
Yeah.
I. You know what? You know why he went to Ottawa over like a place that would like, be a contender? Because Detroit's going to give him an opportunity to play in the top six. Like he's going to get a really good opportunity in Detroit. And he's going home too. He's from Detroit. Yeah, just it's I think he's gonna be a really good fit there. I think that sign is gonna work out. Same with the Grice one. I like the Grice signing. And the other ones, Merrill, Stetcher, and Nemestikov. It's all good depth signings. Like they need players in that team and they gotta hit the cap for. So
You know, it'd be dope
what?
if Bobby Ryan just like he's doing really good in Detroit, and then
Mhm.
at like the deadline they move him to like a contender, and he could actually like go after a cup. Because I
That'd
sincerely
be
want to see
cool.
Bobby Ryan
hmm
like succeed
After what all
after
he went through.
that incredible comeback.
hmm
I honestly, that's a great deal. 1 year, 1 mil for Bobby
Oh, it's
Ryan.
great.
I would
Yeah,
take
it's
that any
incredible.
day.
Any team would. I'm pretty sure any team here would offer Bobby Ryan that contract. So yeah, I think Detroit did a great job in free agency so far. Edmonton. So they bring in Tyler Ennis for 1 year, 1 million, pretty good contract. Kyle Turist, I think is a pretty underrated signing, 2 years, 1.6. Another really underrated signing, Tyson Barrie, 1 year, 3.75, and then yeah, that's it.
So I understand it's not long term, but that Tyson Berry deal is
That's
ridiculously
good.
cheap.
That is
That
so
is
good. They really needed that because Clefbaum, we don't know what's gonna happen with him. He could be out the entire season. So they need a guy that's gonna play the number one power play unit. And honestly, there's not many better players around than Tyson Barrie, honestly.
I
Great on
don't
the power play. He's playing with McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, maybe I don't know who else, but that's a stack number one unit.
yeah, I think what might happen with Barry is well first off he hated in Toronto. Like he had to go.
It wasn't that. It was the whole Babcock effect. If you look at his numbers with Babcock and Keefe, his numbers significantly improved over Keefe. He just didn't fit in with Babcock. It's one of those things. But we knew he wasn't going to stay in Toronto. There was no way. It really
No,
wasn't.
no.
It honestly, it wasn't the best fit. It really wasn't honestly the best fit. But in Edmonton, he's going to have a really good shot to make a lot of money next offseason.
Yeah, if he proves himself, he might just do like he might just take this 1 year, prove himself, and then
Mhm.
Edmonton might want to keep him around. He might want to stay there, might give him a decent amount of money for a relatively long term. He's turning 30, but I don't really see that stopping them from signing him to like 5 years, maybe.
I don't know if they could.
Um,
I don't know if I honestly I think it's a 1 year deal. I don't think he returns just based off they got Clefbaum, they got Nurse, they got Proberg, they got Bouchard, they got guys. They got Ethan
yeah.
Bear, Caleb Jones. Like they have a good amount of defensive prospects and guys that can step in soon. So honestly, I don't think he stays, but he's a great filler player, especially for the situation that Edmonton was in. So I think it's a great signing for them. And Tyler Ennis, he played there last year.
What was he
Great
making
signing.
before this? He was making like
Ennis or Barry?
Ennis. He was making way too
cheap.
much.
No, he was on a really expensive deal with
And then he signed.
Buffalo. Then he
Yeah,
got
yeah, yeah,
bought out, or it just ran out, and then he's been on cheap deals
yeah.
ever
I
since
remember
then.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Honestly, not a horrible depth player. I think keep him around. Not a problem. I would look into keeping Tyler Ennis if he
Yep.
were. Yeah, that's a good signing.
Kyle Turris stuff. That's another really good signing by Edmonton. They needed the third line center. It just I feel like in Nashville, it just the fit wasn't there. It just didn't work out for him there. He's gonna have a chance to bounce back in Edmonton. He'll probably get second unit power play time, if I were to guess. Probably play a little on the penalty kill. So he'll get a chance to bounce back. I think he will honestly bounce back. I think Edmonton's gonna make a I think they're gonna have a decent season next year.
Yeah, because my beef with like Kyle Turris' situation is like, from what I understand, you don't go from putting up the numbers he did with Ottawa,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you just fall out of nowhere when you're not even getting that much older. He didn't really
No,
go
he's
through
he's still like
severe injuries that I'm
31.
aware
Like he's
of.
not even old.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I don't really see why that would happen unless it's just the team he's on and the situation he's in. So I think he actually he might just outshine the shit out of that contract.
I don't think he gets back to what he was, but I think he can be a 40-point scorer, 40,
Yeah.
45 maybe. He'll be an effective player, especially with what he's making. That's a good contract for Edmonton. All right, let's move on to the Florida Panthers. So they brought in Radko Gudas, 3 years, 2.5. Carter Verhaeghe, 2 years, 1 million. Vinny Hinostroza, 1 year, 1 million, and Alexander Wenberg, 1 year, 2.25. What do you think about what they did?
I'm kind of pissed that they got Venberg just because I kind of wanted him on the Rangers
No,
and there
I
was
think
like
Wenberg
rumblings
was a
that they could, but
really good pickup for them.
that was that deal's not terrible either. 1 year,
No, it's
2.25
not bad.
could be worse.
He'll be a third line center. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean it's whatever. It's a depth ad. Um, again, I don't know what else to comment on that. He's just a good depth ad for a decent contract.
You know what contract I really like? I like the Gudis contract. I really do. 2.5. Like it's not that much, and like the term's not that bad. I really like that contract. Honestly,
Yeah,
he's
the
an
reason it's
effective player
good.
too. Like Gudis is like the style of hockey he plays is just not many players play that way, and it's many teams want that. So I think he's a good player, good signing for them.
Yeah, and if he ends up like falling through in Florida for some reason, that's the thing I like about that deal is because if they want to move him,
Oh, it's such a movable
they
contract.
could. It's not like anyone's gonna be like, oh, it's too much. It's just 2.5. It's not that big of a deal. Like so, I think that's a safe cushion to fall onto. So like they either win or win because they either get a good defenseman who's doing what he should do on the team, or they just move him and get
Hmm.
separate assets for him.
Also, another signing that I think could work out really well for Florida, Carter Verhaeghe. So this kind of happened, a situation kind of along the same lines as this. Jonathan Marchessault kind of went up through Tampa, was in the system for a while, and then really never got an NHL chance, and then left, signed with the Florida Panthers.
Like
May,
literal identical, yeah.
yeah, maybe do we see a similar story to Jonathan Marchessault out of Carter Verhaeghe, you think? I think there's a chance, honestly. Why not?
There's a chance. I mean, I don't know. He for Hagee was relatively there for the playoffs. Like when I say there, like
He was playing on the fourth line. Like he didn't get much of an opportunity. That's what I'm
exactly,
saying.
yeah.
So you never know. He could go to Florida, get a lot of ice time, and prove himself. That's what Marchessault did. So see what happens with that. Next team's the LA Kings. They didn't do anything that notable going for agency, so we're gonna move on from that. Next team, Montreal Canadiens. They sign Tyler Toffoli to a 4-year deal, 4.25, and they bring back they re-sign, not re-sign Jake Allen. They extend Jake Allen 2 more years. I think 2.85. I don't have that in front of me. I think that's right. So they got that. Personally, the Toffoli contract, I think that's a great contract. He's going to play in the top six there. And 4.25, it's not that expensive, honestly. That's pretty good money for Toffoli. We were thinking Toffoli's going to get around 5. And Montreal got him 4 years, 4.25. I think that's a win for them.
Yeah, especially because didn't Vancouver offer him like 5/5, I think.
I don't think so.
And I heard there was like some about that he
I
wanted
think
5/5 or
nah.
something.
It was. I'm pretty sure what you're thinking of. The Sharks were rumored to offer him five and a
Five,
half.
yeah,
I
okay, yeah.
think
So
that
never
might be what
mind
you're
that.
thinking of, but they
Um,
obviously never went through with that.
so no, that is a great contract. He's gonna be a top six winger
Yep.
there, not a doubt.
Oh, also, I totally forgot. They Montreal extended Gallagher today too.
Right, yeah,
What was it? 6 over 6.5, 6 years, 6.5 mil per. Is
yep,
that the contract? All right. Yeah, so we'll touch on that in a sec. But yeah, Toffoli, I like that. He's won cups. He's gonna bring experience to that team. That team, Montreal, they're really improving. Honestly, I feel like a lot of teams are getting better. They really are.
yeah.
Montreal is one of them. Another position they improved is the backup goalie. They brought in Jake Allen. They extended them for 2 more years. I don't. The cap it's a little high, but I don't think it's too bad.
As in for Jake Allen or for
Yeah,
all of
no,
us?
Jake Allen. Jake Allen.
It's almost 3 mil, but what are you gonna do? He's one of the better backups you could have.
Yeah,
Like you,
it
you
all
could just have,
depends. That I didn't expect Montreal to lock him up already. I figured they would have seen how he plays first to lock
yeah.
him up to an extension, but it's not that bad. Like at least they didn't go long term with it. Give him like a 4 year deal or something like that. So it's not that bad. But Gallagher now, it literally came out like a day ago that Gallagher, like the extensions went bad. Did you hear about that? Like the extension talk went like way downhill. Like
I
yesterday.
actually don't remember seeing anything about that. All I know
No,
is
yeah,
that's not how it went out. Like,
I don't. Yeah, obviously it's not how it went out. So they came to an agreement today. I think it's a good contract. Gallagher's a great player. I think every team in the league would want Gallagher on the team. That's just the type of player he is. 30 goal scorer. He's a great player. He plays that style of hockey. He's going in the corners. He's just he's a great player, honestly,
I think it was a wonderful signing.
as well. Good price
He's
too. They didn't overpay him.
Yeah, easily like one of the best forwards on the team. Um, he has a leadership role. He's got the A on his sweater.
Mm-hmm.
6.5. Honestly, I don't think that's too much. I think for the like how he plays there and like the role he
Great
has, I think
contract.
that's a great contract, and
Mm-hmm.
it's 6 years if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Um, and he's only 28 years old. Yeah, I think that was a great extension by
Takes him
Montreal.
up to he's 34. It's not that bad, you know. That's pretty good. It's what you got to do. He was a core player there. They needed to keep around. I think it's great. It's gonna work out for them. So good on the Habs. Moving on to the Minnesota Wild. So they got a goalie after moving out Dubnik. They signed Cam Talbot, 3 years, 3.6, and they re-signed Jordan Greenway, 2 year, 2.1. Starting with Talbot. You know, I think the number is a little bit high. I really do. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
On which number, the money or the years?
Money.
Because honestly, I don't like either of them because he's gonna be up till he's 36 and he's already regressing and he's only 33. So when he gets to 36 and he's really like
Man, Cam Talbot's old.
he's been falling for a while.
No, he
So
had he had a bounce back year in Calgary. He did. I'll give him credit. He played better than he did in Edmonton past like couple seasons. He bounced back in Calgary. Uh, I wouldn't have given him that. I'm surprised Minnesota gave him that.
yeah, that's a bit much.
It is honestly the term, and even yeah. Now that I'm thinking about the terms a lot too, but I thought the cap hit was high. I was thinking maybe 2 years, 2.5. Like if Aaron Dell signed for 1 year at 800K, how the fuck did Cam Talbot get 3 years at 3.6 million? Right?
Exactly, and especially because Dell signed to a system that didn't need him, and
Oh,
Talbot.
okay. I'm not. I think Talbot is better than Dell. Talbot's a better goalie, but they're not that far off. They're not three
That's what I'm
million
saying. Yeah,
off. Like it's
that's what I'm
not that
saying. Yeah,
much.
and Talbot was needed by Minnesota, so maybe he probably
We'll
used
see, we'll
that
see how it
weight to
works.
get the money.
If he plays good, then it's good for Minnesota. But if not, then they're going to be in trouble because they've been having goalie issues. Stalock played okay last year, with Dubnik was abysmal for them. So hopefully they get their guy with Cam Talbot, and they re-signed Greenway, as I mentioned before. Pretty good depth piece. He's a big boy. He's power forward. Hopefully he takes a step in development, maybe cracks the top 9. I don't know if he played there last year. I'm not too sure, honestly, but we'll see what happens with that.
And it's also safe because it takes him straight up to RFA. So
Yeah, so yep,
by
good
the end
on
of the
them.
deal. Yeah, at the end of the deal, if he ends up being a superstar or something, then you don't got to worry about losing him to UFA.
Yep.
You still can, restrict him.
I think it could happen. Could work out. I think, who I think Steve's a similar player to? Tuck. Came out of Minnesota, big power forward. I think he could be a
Be
Tuck type
similar to
player.
Tuck.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you. I could see
Hmm.
that. Yeah,
Yep.
100%.
All right, moving on to the Nashville Predators. So they brought in Borvietsky or Borwicki. It's just I never know how to say it. I hear
I call him
both.
Borowicki, but
I don't think it's
uh,
Borwicki.
it's probably Borvietsky.
I think
If
it's
I'd say, yeah.
Borvietsky. We'll go with Borvietsky. He signed a 2-year deal of $2 million. Matt Benning, 2-year deal, $1 million. Nick Cousins, 2-year deal, 1.5, and Brad Richardson, 1 year, $1 million. I don't really have a problem with Nashville did, honestly, but like they cleared out a lot of cap space. Like I expected like maybe a bigger move out of the Preds. Like you think the Preds are done yet? Like, do they still have cap space? I don't know off the top of my head. What are they
Um,
looking like?
they got about 13 mil, and they got to
Wow,
sign Kunin, who they just acquired, which
he
is
shouldn't
not
be
going to be a
that
lot.
much.
It's not going to be a lot at all. I'm shocked they haven't gone for anyone, to be honest.
Do
Not
they
that I'm
have
aware
anyone up
of.
next year? Like, do they have Fabro up maybe? Something
They
like that.
got Fabro next year
So,
and
but
Saros
still,
as well.
Fabro, like Rene's money's coming off next year. That's going to be $5 million. They could be like, well, I'm not going to get into it now, but they could really like push and sign one of the like remaining free agents out there because they got money and they cleared out all the cap. They bought out Turris, traded Benino. Like they move out forwards. Like they didn't really bring. They brought in Richardson. They brought in Cousins. Like those are depth pieces. Those aren't guys that are going to play
Those
in your
aren't
top
game
six.
changers. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Same thing with Benning and Borvietsky. They're great depth pieces. Like you need depth pieces, but that's like with 13 million, Nashville they need a goal scorer. Like Nashville has a real problem scoring goals. They have pieces. It's just they just can't put it together. Like Duchesne's been great, not necessarily with Nashville, but he's been great in the past. Johansson's had years. Arvidsson's had moments. Forsberg's had moments. They have to stay healthy and like put it together because like they have a great team in Nashville. The defense is good, goaltending's good. Saros and Rene is a great tandem. I don't know if they added the like a Hoffman or a Dadonov or anything like that just to help with the offense. I think that'd benefit them a lot.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So see what Nashville ends up doing. New Jersey, they bring in Corey Crawford on a 2-year deal. Uh, you know, I I really I don't really get it. They got Blackwood. Like why are they bringing in Crawford?
They,
Like
I was
I
gonna
I
say,
get they got cap space. I I don't know.
okay,
You go explain because
I was
I don't know what to say.
exactly. It's hard to. I was gonna, defend it. I was gonna say maybe they're doing what Washington did, um, in terms of getting a veteran goalie
I
to
know, but he's
match their-
expensive. Like
exactly for 2 years. That's a starting goalie number, like right there, like three
I
point nine.
I think Crawford still can be a starter. I just feel like I don't know. He said he came out saying New Jersey's his favorite team. I mean, I good on you for going to play for your favorite team. I don't know how that ended up happening,
They just
but
didn't need him. They really didn't.
I don't know. They got Blackwood. I
That's what exactly. Yeah, like you're gonna take
I
away
guess
development time.
they bring in a goalie that can split time. Maybe they don't think Blackwood's ready yet, but he played great last season. He really did. I don't know. I mean, never helped to have goaltending depth. So we'll see what happens with I don't know that situation. I don't know. I don't really like it to be honest. I don't think you like it either. So
No,
move on from that.
bad move.
Agreed. New York Islanders, they didn't do anything notable. They made a trade, but we'll get to that later as we mentioned. New York Rangers. Eddie, what did the New York Rangers do this offseason, free agency wise?
So I think it's safe to say the New York Rangers have won the entire free agency as they have signed Jack Johnson. All right, no, in all seriousness, we got Johnson, we got Kevin Rooney, and Colin Blackwell. To be honest, I wouldn't even know who the fuck those people were. Like, because to be honest, like I don't really see what we were doing there. I understand that we could use some defensive depth. We have Keandre Miller, who looks wonderful, might I add, as a defensive prospect. Um, so I don't know why in God's name we signed Jack Johnson. I understand it's a stupid cheap and stupid short deal, but I just don't see what the point of doing that.
I know why. I know why they signed Johnson. You want to know why?
Let's hear it.
So, you know how they had Mark Stahl?
Yeah,
They moved him out. He moved out to
that's
Detroit.
correct.
He got traded. What did you say? Mark Stahl has been kind of like a scapegoat necessarily. I like the Rangers defense, kind of in a way. From his
Explain.
like his bad play, the Rangers, vault their frustrations into maybe like a bad goal onto Mark Stahl's defensive play, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they blame. It's like, oh, it's Mark Stahl's fault. It's like, oh, we got Mark
So
Stahl.
you're saying
Like,
Jeff Gorton signs Jack Johnson
to replace Mark Stahl.
and in his mind he's thinking, oh, every time that we lose a game, everyone's gonna fucking hate you. It's gonna be all your fault now. Like, what the fuck? I don't think that that was the point of signing Jack Johnson.
No.
Jeff Gordon, at least.
In all seriousness, he's gonna replace Stahl, not in that way, but he's gonna probably replace what Stahl did for the team. Defensive forward, like they don't really have like a defensive forward, not defensive defenseman. Sorry, defensive defenseman, because they got Fox, they got D'Angelo, like that. They're a bunch of offensive defensemen over there. So I guess he'll come in and play defense
as well.
I guess.
So that Trouba Johnson, if that's a pairing, that's going to be a negative 100 by the end of the year.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
I'm not even like shitting on Trouba.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I'm shitting on the Jack Johnson signing. It just wasn't necessary. And you know who's still a free agent? Who I said the Rangers should go after is Mikael Granlund. We need a center. I don't know what we're doing. Not Colin Blackwell. That's not the answer to our problem. What are we doing?
They still have Strome. They haven't moved on from him yet. They still could bring him back.
They could afford him. They could afford Tony. They could afford Lemieux.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't signed any of them yet. Do you know what's been going on with that? Is there anything holding that up?
I know Strome and Tony D'Angelo are in arbitration right now.
Oh, that's right. They filed for arbitration. That might not be good for you guys at all. D'Angelo might get paid. If he wins, he might get paid. Same with Strome.
I don't want to think about it right now.
Yeah. Right.
I just want to think about the lack of movement. But the only one who I'm comfortable with is probably Lemieux, just going to get like a stupid cheap deal. But
I can see that, yeah.
They haven't really re-signed any RFAs yet.
Yeah, so still moves are coming for the Rangers, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, the Ottawa Senators. We talked about this move, I think, last podcast, whenever that came out, like a week ago. Matt Murray signed in Ottawa, 4-year deal, 6.25. Talked about it already. It's a little price. It's still steep, but it's Ottawa. They can afford it. So we'll see if that works out for them. I think it could work out. Could not work out.
The term is fine. Yeah, the term is fine.
Just the cap hit's a little high. That's the only thing.
Cap hit is a bit much. Again, they easily can afford it.
So it's not really a problem. So it's
exactly.
okay. It's not the end of the world.
Wasn't necessary, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. The Philadelphia Flyers. They bring in Eric Gustafsson, 1 year, $3 million. I think very good signing for Philadelphia. Gustafsson's a really underrated defender. He was making like $1 million last season, so he's really never been paid for what he's been able to do. He's a great defender. He had a really good year with Chicago. I think 2 years ago? He had a really good year, or was it? No, it wasn't last season. It was the season before that.
Right, yeah. He had like 60 points.
Yeah, something. He had 60 on the dot.
2019, yeah, 60 points.
And then he had a bit of a down year. Could have played at Chicago, whatever. Did they keep bounces back with Philly? I think it's great, honestly.
I think just because Philly's defense has always been like a pretty notable thing to look at for in terms of they got a healthy mix of offensive defensemen and defensive defensemen. I think Gustafsson was, especially that it's a 1 year for $3 million. I like you said before, I think it is a great contract. The money is super cheap for him, and I think he's gonna show what he can do with the Flyers, and then make a case as to why he should be getting paid next offseason.
You know what? I also think it works out. Niskanen, he retired out of nowhere, basically.
Yep.
He was making like $5.7 million. So if you think about it, they're saving like 2.7. And honestly, I think Gustafsson's the better player than Niskanen at this point in their careers. So I think it's a win for Philadelphia. And he could honestly take the whatever role. I don't even know if he has that role still, but whatever role Gossesphere had in like the top unit, I don't even know if he's still there. I don't know if Provorov's playing the unit, but maybe he gets it. He'll definitely get the second unit, I feel like. So
Oh no, you can't put him any further than that.
that's what I'm saying. He's a great offensive defenseman. I think it's going to work out for Philly. It's a low risk, high reward type of signing. So we'll see what happens with that. Uh, moving on to Pittsburgh didn't do much notable, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Pittsburgh did anything.
No, nothing really.
Okay, yeah. All right, so moving on to the Sharks. So they brought in Stefan Nason 1 year, 925K. Signed LeBanc 4 years, 4.725. Brought back Marlowe and Nieto on 1 year, 700K contracts. Personally, I love all of the. Let's talk about Nason. Let's talk about Nason first. Nason, great bottom six forward, making under $1 million. It's great. He was perfect fit last year. He came in, provided the style of play that no one really played here. So great signing. Sharks for the Sharks. Low risk, high reward type of one. So good for them. We'll talk about LeBanc last. Marlowe. Actually, no, we'll talk about Marlowe. We'll go. Let me talk about who the fuck Nieto. Nieto, good depth forward. He played with the Sharks. I think it was 3-4 years ago. We put him on waivers. So he played decent in Colorado for the time he was there. We're bringing him back. 700K for 1 year. Once again, like he'll fill a role. Like we need forward depth. Like that was our main problem last year. We didn't have depth scoring, and he's gonna do that for us. So see if that works out. I think it's a great signing. I think it's gonna work out. Has worked out in the past. So see what happens with that. Patrick Marleau. Patrick Marleau is going to be the all-time leader in games played next season, barring any massive announcements or anything that he's not playing or gets hurt. So how about that? That's pretty cool, right?
That is pretty cool and honestly
Good for
wonderful.
Patty. Good for him.
You know me, I've always liked the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
Marlowe has just been one of those players that like he clearly loves hockey and he clearly deserves any good things that come to him in his time in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Sharks got him on a really cheap deal. I understand his age.
700K.
Like you got to keep the term very short with guys of his age. But 700K, that's also very good for someone who, while he probably won't get one because he's just coming back and you guys already have a bunch, he's also just a leadership role in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He could honestly be a huge asset in the locker room.
He will be a huge asset in the locker room.
Keep morale high. Honestly, just great signing by the Sharks to bring back Marlowe.
No, it is. I love Patrick Marleau. He's great. Future Hall of Famer. He's incredible. Good for him. All the best. I think he won't play in the top six. He'll play probably on the fourth, third line. He'll be effective. He'll do his job. He's still a fast player. Still could score goals. So he'll be decent. Kevin LeBanc now. 4 years, 4.725. Personally, I do think it's a little high. I do. Just look, he had a 50-point season last year, or 2 seasons ago rather. Last season he had a bit of a down year. To be fair, the whole Sharks team had a down year, and he did sign that 1 year, $1 million contract last all season. So it could have been like an agreement that this contract was given out. I don't hate the contract. I'm okay with it. I do think it's a little high though.
I don't know, because I think if the Sharks team itself didn't sink,
that's what I'm saying. Everyone got hurt last year. Everybody got hurt last year.
I think LeBanc probably would have just kept putting up a decent amount of numbers like he did the season before. So honestly, this deal could be better than you realize right now.
It could work out. Just first glance, based off what LeBanc did last year, it's a little high. But for the player that Kevin LeBanc can be, I feel like the contract could work out, but he's got to be that player. He's got to return to what he was 2 seasons ago. That produced a top 6 forward rate. So I think he can do it. I hope he does it. And we'll see. St. Louis Blues. They lose their captain, Alex Pietrangelo, but they get a pretty good consolation prize. Torrey Krug signed a 7-year deal, $6.5 million. What are your initial first thoughts on this signing?
Honestly, fine. Yeah.
I think it's great. Honestly, really good signing.
You replace the guy that you just lost for a cheaper deal than you would have got him for. So you get Krug for 6.5.
Krug's younger.
For how many years is it? 7?
7 year
6?
deal.
Yeah, 7 year.
7.
Uh, he's gonna be 36 by the end of it. I honestly don't see
It's
why
not
that's not.
that bad. Like,
Torrey Krug just looks great always. Um, Great quarterback on the power play. Um, Overall, just a productive defenseman. I think good on St. Louis. They filled a hole very
they
quickly.
did.
That
They did.
yeah,
Just thinking, man. I feel like they could have kept Petro if they didn't sign Justin Falk. I just don't know what the thought was there bringing in
yeah,
Falk, knowing that Petrangelo was a UFA the next season. I don't know. I don't understand it on their part because 8.5. That's what he got. It's so affordable. They could have afforded
exactly.
that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I don't know. I think Torrey Krug's great consolation prize for the Blues, though. He's a great defender. He'll once again, he'll like you said, be a quarterback on the power play. He'll be fantastic. It's going to work out there. Moving on, the Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. They bring back Patrick Maroon and Luke Shen, both really cheap deals. Maroon being 2 years, 900K. Shen's being 1 year, 800K. Great signings, especially the Maroon one. I love that signing.
Um, okay. I'm almost
Mm.
positive this happened and I didn't dream it or something. I'm gonna say a name. You tell me the first thing that happened to him that pops into your head. Tyler Johnson.
Waivers.
Okay, good. Okay, I was just
I
making
was gonna get. I was gonna
no,
get to that. I was gonna get
no
to that.
offense to him. No one has said a fucking word after the first day that it's happened, but I can't believe that.
I think he's gonna get traded. He's not gonna play in the AHL next season. He's too
No,
good. He's too
no,
good.
absolutely not.
Just Tampa, they can't afford him, and they need cap space right now. So they put him on
Exactly.
waivers. They probably have a deal in place with a team that. Oh, from what I've heard, Tampa hasn't offered a sweetener yet for the Johnson contract. They've just tried trading it straight up. So if they offer a sweetener, team it can entice the team to take it. So I don't think he's screwed necessarily. I don't think he'll be in the light next season though. He's going to be on a different team. I don't know what
No,
that team is. Maybe Ottawa, Detroit. I don't
it
know.
could be if there's someone that could afford him.
New Jersey, maybe. I don't know. Throwing out teams.
They pretty much just said the Stanley Cup is worth $900,000 because Patrick Maroon is a
Back to
back-to-back Stanley
back.
Cup champion.
Back to back.
So now, if history is any indicator, that means they're going to win the Stanley Cup for 2 years in a row, starting.
Imagine that. Imagine Patrick Maroon being 3-time Stanley Cup champion all in a row.
I
That'd
welcome
be
it. I love
something.
Patrick Maroon.
That really would be something.
Yeah, it'd be incredible.
Only imagine. All right, moving on to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bring in TJ Brody, 4 years, $5 million. Wayne Simmons, 1 year, $1.5 million. Zach Bogosian, 1 year, $1 million. Jimmy Vesey, 1 year, $900K. And as I mentioned before, Aaron Dell, 1 year, $800K. Who do you want to start with?
I want to start with the most interesting one, and it's only interesting to me because you actually brought this point up to me, and it's a very good point. Jimmy Vesey. Well, to the common eye, that's not that big of a signing for the Maple Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Vesey just signed $900K for 1 year.
Yep.
Jimmy Vesey won the Hobie Baker in college, and
Correct.
guess who his centerman was when he did it? Ethan, you want to do the honors of saying who it was?
Alexander Kerfoot was his center.
So, if Toronto realizes this fact and they line those two up in the same, if they put those guys on the same line, then Jimmy Vesey actually could produce some relatively surprising numbers this season.
You want to hear this potential line for the Toronto Maple Leafs that we could see? There's so many potential lines that they could put together for this third line. We could go Vesey, Kerfoot, Simmons. That's pretty good. You can go Vesey, Kerfoot, Nick Robertson.
Oh,
dude,
I kind of want to see that. I want to see that second one.
That's
Robinson.
good.
Robinson's
that
young.
One's good. I like that one.
But he really looks really good already. Mm-hmm. He's only 19. He's already cracked the roster. Like, dude, that could be a sick line. I'm more excited to see Vesey and Kerfoot in the same pairing, but I don't know. That could be very interesting. Just keep an eye on that one.
Also, we'll get to let's talk about Bogosian now. All right, so Zach Bogosian, Stanley Cup champion, Zach Bogosian. Mentioned that. Goes to Toronto, 1 year deal. The least they need right-handed defenders. I think is a great signing. Bogo's big right-handed defenseman. The only potential problem that I have with this, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this to you. I don't know where I heard this. I don't know how true it is. It obviously cannot be true. It obviously could be true. I don't really know. For what I heard, there's been rumors that they've been thinking about the Leafs organization, management, coaching, whoever. They've been thinking about pairing Zach Bogosian and Morgan Riley on the same defensive pairing.
You did say that to me.
Just based off, and this is the reasoning, because based off of what Bogosian did in the playoffs playing with Hedman. Uh I don't know. I don't know about that one, man. I really don't know about that. I think Bogo's a great sixth, maybe fifth, seven option. Great the bottom pair guy. I wouldn't say much more of that. He's big. He punch faces. What the Leafs need, but
Punch face.
not top pair defenseman Morgan Riley. That's my thoughts.
Unless you want to move Morgan Riley down to the
Why would you do that?
Exactly. That's
why
what I'm
would you
saying.
do that?
I don't know. That makes no sense to me. The contract itself is fine. It's just
Yeah,
a matter
good
of
contract.
what they do with him.
Where his role? I don't know what his role is going to be.
Exactly.
Personally, I'm thinking sixth, fifth defender, maybe even seventh. But it's not going to hurt the Leafs, I don't think. So we're on to Wayne Simmons now. Wayne Simmons goes home to Toronto. Very cheap deal, 1-year deal. I think it's great, honestly.
Yeah, no, there's two things that most people don't realize. NHL players are also human beings, believe it or not. They have emotions and they have feelings. So no one realizes how much morale affects a player's performance. Like if they're not happy living where they are.
Mm-hmm. Where
So
did Wayne Simmons play last year? Do you want to tell me where he played last year, Wayne Simmons?
I believe Buffalo.
No, he played
if I'm
in
not
New
mistaken.
Jersey and then Buffalo.
Oh God. Yeah, so he was
you could fault that partially to his down year. I don't know what his year before that was with Philly. I don't think it was great. He's not going to come in and score 30 goals. He might score 15 goals, 20 assists, 35 points, maybe 40 points. Maybe score 20 goals. Play the second power play. He's exactly what the Leafs need. He really is.
Yeah, I just think it's a good deal because it's short and it's cheap. But I also think because Simmons is coming home now, so that's obviously going to affect the way he's feeling.
Mm-hmm. He's going to feel confident.
Plays.
He's going to feel good.
Exactly.
He's gonna feel good in Toronto.
And he's a big, tough guy. I remember going to a Ranger versus Flyers game, dude, and I went up to the glass to watch warmups. Wayne Simmons is fucking big.
He's a big
you don't realize it. He's pretty damn big.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I really like what Toronto did this offseason.
So do I.
I think
we didn't even talk about the big signing yet. TJ Brody.
Yeah.
They finally get what most people think should be the defensive partner for Morgan Riley. I think it's great. Brody's a great two-way defender. He played at Mark Giordano. So that goes off. Giordano might not have won the Norris if Brody wasn't on his pair. So I think it's a great signing. Make that argument. He's not making that much money, only $5 million, 4 years. He's not that old either. I think it's going to work out. I really like what Toronto did this offseason. They did good.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of Leafs fans are like crying and punching air because they didn't get Pietrangelo. That was never realistic. That was never realistic.
You were never getting him.
The fact they got Brody, I don't think they realized like that itself was a good move. And like I said before, that VC move and that Simmons move is completely underrated. Both of them.
Not really the Simmons one's being talked about a lot, but the VC one,
again,
really
I still
could
think
be underrated signing.
Might bring VC back to VC,
and even Dell
what he was expected to be.
And even Dell, what did they plan on doing with their goalie situation? Are they going to have Freddie be the starter and maybe have a challenge for the backup spot? Like,
that makes no sense though.
I
don't know why they brought him in.
So am I. Like, Dell could be a starter in this league. He could be. I don't know if he is a starter. I don't know. He's proved at times that he can be a starter. So I thought he'd be given the opportunity to probably play 30, 40 games this season. He might even play games. He might play all in the AHL this season.
That's crazy to me.
I didn't see that coming. Ridiculous. I really didn't. If he was going to play in the AHL, why didn't the Sharks just bring him back? $800K playing the AHL. I don't know. I don't really get it. I thought he'd get an opportunity, honestly. I'm looking at Buffalo. They could use a guy like Dell. I think he's better than Carter Hutton. Carolina, bring in a guy like Dell. I think he's better than Reimer. Maybe Mrazek. I don't know about Mrazek, but I don't know. I feel like he's a decent goalie. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased, but
I don't know. All I'm gonna leave on Toronto's note. Toronto fans, you should be happy with what you got.
no,
I
definitely be
understand.
happy.
I understand they didn't get Petrangelo like they wanted, but
T-
the forwards they got and Brody, I think genuinely the Maple Leafs could be dangerous this year.
Yeah, they also made some other moves that we'll get to in a little bit. A couple trades they made. Uh, so who's next? Vancouver Canucks. They're next. So big thing with Vancouver coming in. They had three big unrestricted free agents. It was who I think how many are they going to keep? Who are they going to keep? I thought they were going to keep two. I said around two. I think you agreed with me 2-1. I think you said they kept none. They retained zero of them. Zero. And their consolation prize was Braden Holtby.
Yeah, which they didn't need.
And
Still don't get that.
not gonna say they didn't need Holtby. They didn't necessarily not. Oh, they needed another goalie. Like I don't personally trust Demko to be a starter in this league. He's played 3 great games.
Right.
It's about it.
It
Like
should have been a split though, so they're gonna split Holtby and Demko. I don't think Holtby was the answer to that. Holtby isn't a split goalie. Holtby,
I
while he
honestly
kind of
honestly I think at this point in his career I think Holtby might be a split goaltender because
yeah, for
Holtby he
4.3,
that it's not that bad. I thought, dude, we thought Holtby was gonna get a lot more than that. I thought
that
Holtby
could
might
have
get 8. Like
that could have been money used on one of the UFAs they let walk though. That's what I don't like about that. I really just don't see the reasoning for the Holtby signing. They could have got someone not better, but like someone who's a better fit to split
Dell,
with Demko.
Dell,
Exactly. I was gonna say
Dell.
before Aaron Dell, who's now
Oh my god.
Toronto
Fucking
Marley for
A.
some reason.
They could have brought back Toffoli and they could have had Dell. You
I
know,
don't know. I
they
don't get
did
it.
pick up a defender. I'll give them that. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but I don't know. I'm not gonna say I don't like the Holtby contract. We'll see. He's got to bounce back. He can't be an 800 save percentage goalie. He can't be. He's got to be back in the 900s.
Oh,
He's got to
absolutely, yeah.
somewhat replicate what Markstrom did, and that might be too tall of a task to ask. And Vancouver could find themselves on the outside looking out, on the inside, on the
Right again.
outside looking in next season.
There you go.
Took me a little bit. They also brought back Tyler Mott, 2 years, 1.25. Good depth forward. Does his role well. Not really much to say about that. Next team, Vegas Golden Knights. So they get the big fish, Alex Pietrangelo. How does that impact Vegas? Do you think that puts them over the edge?
As in like Stanley Cup
Yeah,
contenders,
like that
because
was.
to be fair, they always have been Stanley Cup contenders.
That's what I'm saying. Does this put them on the like way over? Like, are they the best team in the league now? Are we gonna go that far?
One could seriously make that argument. They did lose Stastny
Schmidt. They lost Snatchy. They lost
and
Schmidt too.
Schmidt, but guess who fills that hole? Alex
Petrangelo.
Pietrangelo. So I don't really think if I were a Vegas fan, I wouldn't be too upset with that. I don't know.
The term's a little alarming on that deal.
The
He's going to
term's
be
long.
making 8.8 for a long time, 7 years. And what is he? He's 31 right
30.
now.
He's 30.
30. That's a steep deal, man. I don't know.
They just better hope he kind of just does what Giordano does with Calgary and just still produces when he's like really high up in age. But then again, Giordano's on a much cheaper deal.
To be fair, we thought Petro was going to get like 11. So him at 8.8 isn't bad. Like it's respectable. It's good for what he is now. Petrangelo is I'd say Petrangelo is an arguable top 5 defender in the league right now.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I think that's what he's supposed to be paid. So 8.8. It's long term, I don't like it, but short term, it's what he's supposed to be getting
Great
paid.
price, bad term.
They couldn't really. Then you would have to up the price. Maybe you go 5 years, like 9.5, but then that fucks over Vegas even more with the cap.
Exactly. So for what they could have done, then
I
yeah,
think
fine. They did a good job.
they did.
But
Vegas did good. Did do good, but also they've been rumblings out of Vegas that like some of the core there, they've been a little like have you heard about this? They've been a little like restless, on edge. A lot of core guys being in like trade rooms and everything. Same with the Blackhawks. I know you've heard about that one.
such as who? The only one that I've heard really was So
Marchessault,
possibly
that's
being on
more or
his
less
way out.
Marchessault, Pacioretty, Fleury, like all those guys, like a bunch of core guys. They've been in trade rumors because like Vegas, they got to clear cap space. They needed to clear cap, and Schmidt was the guy that went. Once again, like Schmidt's been here since the beginning. Marchessault's been here. Like they're moving out all these guys that have been here since the beginning. They're bringing in Petrangelo, Stone, Leonard. Like I don't know, like they're becoming a better team, but like I don't know how like the locker room's gonna fare from all these big moves. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like they're
no, that
making
really.
constant changes every year. Like if you look at a team like the Sharks, they've been like I know they had a bad year, but they've been like a similar team like the Bruins. They've been like similar core wise. Vegas, they've been changing so much. Like
Yeah,
their core has been completely different every single year, I feel
that
like.
genuinely does have an effect on players too,
Like
because
just
like
think
it's
that could be
almost.
a reason that they're not like in the Vancouver series and even the Dallas series. They didn't look like they were playing as a team. They had so many shots on goal. They just couldn't put the puck in the net. I don't know if it was just bad luck. I don't know if they just couldn't do it. They couldn't put it together as a team. I don't know if the coaching was there. Pete DeBoer was fine in San Jose, but I don't know. I don't know. Well, I think it does
Honestly,
make Vegas better. It does make them a better team, obviously. But will it work? Like,
in my
will they
opinion,
win Vegas a cup?
I think the only player who needs to go is Marc-Andre Fleury just to free up some
Yeah,
cap.
they got to get rid of him.
They could have traded him, and they still can. Don't get me wrong, but from what I
No one's
understand,
gonna take him, man.
they said they're just gonna roll those two,
Yep, that's what they said. So
which is
you got to think
bizarre
that's
to
what's
me.
gonna. They can't move him. Like they can't. What it was, they'd have to pay a first and a second for a team to retain half of his salary. You can't pay that. Like that's too big of a price to pay. I don't know. They
I
fucked
don't know what they're
themselves with
gonna
Fleury.
do
Yeah, they did.
exactly. Yeah,
They fucked themselves. They spend
they
big money on a bunch of big guys. Like guys that sign long term deals in Vegas, they're not really long term deals. Like honestly, like
they
very
move.
few
Yeah,
very few players in Vegas are like untouchables. Like Stone,
he's probably the
probably
only one that I know of.
no.
Maybe
I think
Carlson.
I was gonna say Carlson. He's on a really good deal, and maybe Petrangelo, I guess now, and probably Leonard. But like, I don't know. Time will only tell. We'll see
Yeah,
if it
we'll
works
see.
out for Vegas.
I guess we'll see.
I personally, I have my doubts. Honestly, really do. It's come from a Sharks fan, but I do have my doubts. All right, moving on to actually the second to last team, Washington Capitals. They bring in your boy Henrik Lundqvist, 1 year, 1.5. Trevor Van Riemsdyk, 1 year, 800K, and Justin Schultz, 2 years, 4 million per. I really don't understand the Justin Schultz contract. I don't. I don't get it.
As
it
in, you
seems
mean he's
like
making too much?
it seems like every player took below market value, and Justin Schultz got like double of what he should have got. Like
Yeah, he had one
he had
really
a
good year in
bad year
Pittsburgh, and
last. He
then
was not good last year.
he's been having bad years for 3 years. When is it gonna stop?
I know he broke his leg. He did have a leg injury that you could fault that into it, but it's I guess they're taking Pittsburgh players. They're maybe saying like they beat us for so long, maybe we can take them and beat them. I don't know. I think that's a stupid strategy if that's what they went for, but maybe they'll turn it around. They got Orlov, they got Carlson. Like, did they really need another offensive defenseman? Like, right?
Um, yeah, I
Like,
don't
hold
get
up.
like.
Let's look at that blue line. They have Carlson. They have Orpik, not Orpik. They have Orlov
There you go.
for Orpik. They have Dylan. They just signed him. I think Kempney's out long term. Is he? I'm pretty sure he's out long term.
It doesn't say anything about that, but I'm
Who
not
else
too
are
sure.
you looking at it right now? Just read it off. I'm doing it off the top of my head. It's a lot easier.
So their blue line is John Carlson, Dmitry Orlov, Justin Schultz, Brendan Dillon, Michael Kempney, Nick Jensen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and Jonas Siegenthaler.
I counted 8 NHL defensemen.
Right.
You don't need Justin Schultz. I don't.
They didn't need him.
Why?
They signed him for too much. That was pretty much just signing someone to sign someone.
Yeah, TVR, great contract. I've always liked TVR. Great defensive defenseman. He'll play his role well. Good third pairing guy. Especially at 800K. Great contract. Like, you can honestly make an argument TVR is better than Justin Schultz. Like, there's an argument there.
there kind of is just because Schultz. I don't know. They just overpaid the shit out of Schultz. I
Hey,
don't know what.
if Schultz bounces back, proves me wrong, hey, good for him. Good for Washington. Worked out for them. But I'd say it's unlikely. I don't know how he made $4 million. I really don't. How did he make more than Eric Gustafson?
Beats me, dude. Oh my god, I didn't even think about that till now.
I know. I was looking at my paper. I was like, yeah, he made more than Eric Gustafson.
All
Made
right.
more than Shattenkirk. Made more than him. Like I don't know, man. I don't know.
All
He made
right.
$1 million less than Brody as well.
Let's move on from that bad contract and let's talk about someone who people are grading this as like he's one of the top 5 biggest free agent signings in free agency, and he signed for a cheap 1 year deal. Henrik Lundqvist. I think it's just big because it's gonna be
He's a
weird as
big name
fuck
player. Yeah, he's been in New
seeing him
York
in a
for so
different jersey,
long. Mm-hmm.
and it sincerely breaks my heart that that happened. But I
It's just
wouldn't
it.
want him to. You know what's fucked up is if
Hmm.
the Rangers don't make the playoffs or if they don't make it as far as the Capitals, I'm not going to be rooting for anyone other than the Capitals because Lundqvist deserves that cup. And this is very smart in Washington because one, it's a super cheap and super short deal for a very
Great.
uh
Mm-hmm.
for an age goalie. And we said this on so many podcasts ago. Actually, I think we predicted this like
We
we
did,
hit the
yeah.
nail on the head with this one where
Yep.
we said Lundqvist should go to
Like the
Washington.
only one we hit the.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. So Henrik Lundqvist overall, like that's just a great move by the Capitals and a great move by Lundqvist just because Washington gets what they need. They get a veteran goaltender who gets to mentor Samsonov in a way, and Washington also succeeds because they get a capable backup. And they also get uh a chance to give I'm sorry, this also goes on to Henrik Lundqvist. He also gets a chance to win a Stanley Cup that he's been
Oh yeah,
wanting ever since
he's
he's
got a great shot. Honestly, I think Washington could be a dark horse to win it all next year.
yeah. And
See what happens.
I was saying before, like if the Rangers don't go far, if they don't make it or anything, if Washington makes it farther than the Rangers, I'm gonna be rooting for Washington, hundred
Mm-hmm. Oh,
percent.
100%. Like I was the same way with the Stars. Fucking let's go Pavs, baby.
Exactly.
I was in the Pavs bandwagon. All right, so yeah, that basically sums up Washington. And for the last team, let's get into the Winnipeg Jets. So they made a couple underrated signings on the blue line. They brought in Lucas Spiza, Beaulieu, and Forbert. So it's all pretty cheap, 1 year and 1 2 year deal. And they brought in Nate Thompson, 1 year deal, 750K. So brought in a couple depth players. Pretty good for Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean they didn't make a splash. There was no rumors that they were going to make a splash aside from a big trade that was supposedly supposed to be made or something with Line, but that never happened.
That fizzled out when they brought in Stastny.
Exactly. So free agency wise now they didn't really sign anyone big. Excuse me. I like the Thompson deal.
So do I.
It's cheap, good. He's almost like a Derek Grant in a way, like
Yeah.
cheap,
Mm-hmm.
veteran. And I think he just plays a fourth line role really, really well.
He'll be that for Winnipeg. They got a bunch of guys that are great fourth. They got Lowry, they got Cobb, bunch of like really good like fourth line players that, do what they do good, provide grit, score when they need to. So good on them. And defensive depth, yeah, Winnipeg, they needed defensive depth. They
Yeah, 100%.
really lack in the blue line. Beaulieu, they're bringing him back. Spiza, bringing him in. Same with Forbert. So just some good defenders that can log decent minutes for them. So it's going to work out for them. So that kind of wraps up kind of what every team did in free agency. So you want to move on to the trades now that happened?
Yeah.
Great. So let me just get this pulled up. All right, what trade do you want to start with? Where do you want to start here?
Just off the top of my head, let's go to the reason that Pietrangelo went to Vegas.
Nate Schmidt.
They sent Nate Schmidt, who had a pretty big contract, to Vancouver.
Yep.
This is probably the only thing that's making them losing Tanev not so bad. I mean, to be honest, I'd rather have Tanev just because based on the contract.
They lost Stetcher too, so that's another defenseman they lost.
Exactly. So, they got Schmidt for, what was it, a third rounder?
Yep. So it wasn't very high. Schmidt's a great defender, honestly. I think he's really good. He'll be a good fit in Vancouver. Lost Tanev. I don't know if he's going to play with Hughes. Tanev played with Hughes, and they had pretty good chemistry together. So the loss will hurt Vancouver, but Schmidt definitely lessens the wound. So I think he could be a good fit. They didn't pay a lot. Third round picks, nothing. especially for a quality defender like Schmidt.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to work out. Good on Vegas. They moved out salary, brought in Petrangelo, big upgrade on their part. So I think it's a win-win for both teams, honestly. So I think it's a good trade.
Another trade. Can't believe this, but Brennan Saad is playing with Taves once again. Except it's all right. That's two trades. Let's go over the Saad one first.
Okay.
So Chicago sends Saad to Colorado, and they get Nikita Zadorov. I'm not sure what else was in that trade, if anything. I'm not too sure.
So the Blackhawks got Anton Lindholm, and the Colorado Avalanche got Dennis Gilbert. Okay. So 2 AHL players, if I were to guess.
So all right. So let's just call space space.
It's Saad for Zadorov. Saad for Zadorov as a trade.
Who do you think wins? Because honestly, I think Chicago kind of wins that one.
I think it's close.
It's a fair trade.
It's a very good trade. Colorado, they could afford to give up Zadorov. They have Graves, they have Bowen Byram coming, and they have many guys that can fill in a hole left by Zadorov, and they had forward depth. My number one option wouldn't have been Saad. I would have preferred Taylor Hall on a cheap $1 million deal. Not at $5 million, obviously what they have, and they have to pay a little more, but I feel like Hall would have been a better fit than Saad.
Let's backtrack a minute here. You just said you'd rather have Taylor Hall on a cheap $1 million deal.
1 year deal, I meant.
Okay,
sorry.
thank you.
1 year deal, I meant. Sorry.
Really scared the shit out of me there, buddy.
No. Taylor Hall on a 1 year deal. I would prefer that over Saad because I don't know what Saad's terms like. I don't think he has 1 year left. I think he has term on his deal. Most positive.
Saad, he's got 1 year left.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
$5 million. I'm still sticking with what I said. I think Chicago won that trade.
Yeah, they need defense. They got Zadorov. I think, for what they needed, Chicago wins.
Yeah, because not only do they fill a pretty relative hole in that defensive lineup, he goes to RFA by the end of his deal. He's on a currently pretty cheap deal. And he's also a very physical defensive player who also can chip in some offense too. I think he's overall just a good two-way. I think it was
even Kane reached out to him. It came out Kane reached out to him and be like, "Hey, we're welcome to have you here. Glad I don't gotta play against you anymore." So that just shows the quality of type of player that Zadorov is. Patrick Kane's reaching out, one of the best forwards in the league.
Exactly.
So, I think it's gonna work out for the Hawks. I think it's gonna be good. Saad could work out, but I think the Hawks got a better return for what they needed in that trade. So if I were to label a winner, I'd label the Hawks as the winner.
I agree. All right. So now let's go into the fact that Colorado has also gotten Devin Taves from the New York Islanders in exchange for 2 second-round picks.
Yep, 2 second-round picks, 2021 and 2022 second-round picks.
And
he's still an RFA, so he doesn't have a contract yet either.
Okay.
So Colorado's going to have to sign him. Once again, I think it's my bad to interrupt, but I think it's one of those trades that it works perfectly for both sides again. Colorado, they shipped out Zadorov. I mean, they don't really need Taves, but he'll be a good fit in the top 4.
It certainly helps.
Minutes. Yeah. It helps. It definitely helps, but 2 second-round picks is not that much to give up. And the Islanders, they needed cap space. They couldn't afford to sign Taves. So they probably got the best possible return that was out there for them, if I were to guess.
Yeah. Given a different scenario, they probably could have got more in return, but considering he's an RFA, they couldn't afford him, Barzal, and Pulak.
Just couldn't happen.
They had absolutely no weight to throw around in this trade. Mm-hmm. So honestly, I said it before, like 2 second-round picks is not a bad return.
Not bad. It really isn't.
Circumstances around him.
I think the Islanders did good for what they had to work with, but also Colorado picking up a pretty good defender for not that expensive, honestly.
Yeah.
So, winner. Who do you think? Who would you label the winner of this trade?
That's what I'm saying. I don't really know. I wouldn't really label a winner. It's pretty fair straight up, but I guess just because the Avs just got a relatively productive asset, I guess Taves.
I would have to label the Islanders as a winner, honestly. They really couldn't afford. They couldn't afford to keep all 3 of those RFAs unless they made another trade, which involving like Boychuk, which doesn't seem likely because no one's going to take that contract. He's stuck there. So with what they had to work with teams knowing they had to ship someone out, so teams are going to be like, they're not going to offer a lot. So still getting 2 second-round picks, it's not bad. They'd work with what they had to. So they recoup some assets. They have guys that can step in. Dobbs that can step in. Hickey didn't even play last year. He could probably still play in the NHL. So they have guys. So, I think Islanders. I think they win the trade. So, do you want to move on to? Let's move on to the moves New Jersey made. So they picked up a couple players for kind of cheap. They picked up first trade. They picked up Andreas Janssen from the Maple Leafs, and they sent in return Joey Anderson. What are your thoughts on this trade for New Jersey?
Um, I mean, I guess good for Jersey because they got Johnson.
I agree.
Because they did need I guess I want to say depth, but he honestly might slide into like
He could play top
maybe
six.
top six.
He
Yeah,
could play top six. I think he's more suited on the
just
third
based on
line,
lack
but
of talent.
just based if it's he could slide in like easily, I'd say. But I'd say more ideally suited as a third line player. But he's definitely an upgrade on Joey Anderson right now, currently. So New Jersey gets the better player. Toronto gets a young 22-year-old. He's unproven. He could play NHL. He could see NHL time next season. I expect him to. I think he can play on the fourth line. If not, he'll be with the Marlies. Uh, just New Jersey wins the trade. Like they got the better
I think so
player.
too. Yeah, yeah. No,
Toronto, they were forced. They didn't really have any choice. They had a clear cap space. Johnson was making too much. For honestly, he's not making too much just based on what they built there. He didn't fit in with like the structure salary wise. So they had to trade him. They got a decent return for him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, New Jersey is the winner though. It's clear cut. And
yeah, I
the other
agree.
move New Jersey made, they picked up Ryan Murray for a 5th-round pick from the Blue Jackets. Another great pickup from New Jersey, honestly.
Yeah, I
Fifth
mean,
round pick for Ryan Murray, like
yeah, I
that's
mean,
good.
he's making a lot of money.
Yeah, but New
4.6.
Jersey, they're not even close to the cap. They're
Exactly. That's
not
what I'm
even
saying. They
close.
can
Like,
easily afford him,
mhm.
and he's heading to UFA next season. So, assuming he re-signs the Devils, they'll probably get him for cheaper.
If he has a good year, yeah, sure, why not? Like
Um,
Columbus, that's the thing. They needed the shed out salary. Like a lot of teams, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, we'll give you a 2nd-round pick to help you clear cap space. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna offer you that. They're gonna get whatever you're willing to offer. In that case, it was a 5th-round pick. Like it's just that's the way it is now. It's with the market and everything. Guys that are making a lot of money, you're not going to get a lot for them. It's just how it
exactly. Yeah.
is. Teams can't afford to take on these big contracts. And in Columbus' case, he's not even making that much. He's a good, solid defender. Any year but this year, he's not worth a 5th-round pick. He's worth probably you can maybe get a first for him. But just how with everything is now, it's just
You can't. Like,
it sucks. Honestly, it really does. Like if they were to move Murray last year, you could have got a haul for him.
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
But now his value's much, much lower. So
yeah.
now
But
you get
great
nothing.
pickup from the Devils once again, filling out the NHL roster. They're getting better. They're improving, slow and steady. Then 5th-round pick for Columbus, whatever. They need cap space. They're trying to sign Dubois. Got to sign Gavrikov. So they needed to make the move. So good for them. But New Jersey wins this trade, obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
What else did we miss? We could talk about the Paul Stastny trade. He's off to Winnipeg. We mentioned this before. From Vegas. Vegas gets Carl Dahlstrom and a 2022 conditional 4th. So not a steep price to pay for who's most people are penciling in as Winnipeg's 2nd-line center. Back in 2017, I'm almost positive he was their 2nd-line center, and they made a run to the conference finals. So what I'm guessing they're trying to bring that kind of mojo back together, see if that can work out again. I think it's going to work out.
No,
You give
yeah.
Line a good centerman. Like no disrespect to Brian Little, but he did not play really. He played 6 games last year, and he's not going to play this year. So they needed to bring someone in. Stastny, he's making a lot, yeah, but it just Winnipeg could afford it. So
Exactly. Yeah, and it's
works
only
out
a
for them.
1-year deal. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I think Winnipeg wins that just based because they fill a big need that they
Easily.
have.
Oh yeah, I love the trade for Winnipeg. He's going to be a great fit there. He already played there. The team's got experience with him. They know how he played. It's not some new guy coming in. That like they already got. I'm guessing they still have chemistry. I'm pretty sure the line was Ehlers, Stastny, and Line.
So
So I'm guessing they roll Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler, Ehlers, whatchamacallit, fucking Stastny, Line. A pretty good top 6.
that is a really good top 6.
I think
Like
they
playoff
improved the blue
contender
line. They
top
got
6.
Hellebuck. We can see Winnipeg making a pretty deep run next year. I really like what Winnipeg's done this offseason. They've done good. What else do we have out there? Good Branson gets moved to the Senators for a 5th. from the Ducks, not that notable, but uh, Anaheim moving out salary, Ottawa picking up salary because they're so very far away from the floor. So I don't know. Good pickup for Ottawa. They once again add a body. They need bodies. Goodbranson could honestly play top 4 minutes for them, based off Ottawa doesn't have much there. So
Yeah, their lack of depth.
it's a lack
He's a
of
very
anything.
physical player too. Yeah.
Yeah, he could play a good role with them. I think it could work out. That's honestly wrapping up all the trades I see here. I don't think we missed anything else. We got everything. All right, and now we're gonna look at actually some UFAs that are somehow we can say somehow still on the market. I think the name we got to start with is Mike Hoffman.
Yeah, like we said this before, like Mike Hoffman's he's a goal scorer. Like you don't
30 goal scorer.
those aren't
Those don't grow on trees. 30 goal scorers do not grow on trees.
are not easy to find.
And he's a consistent 30 goal scorer too.
Yeah, he
So
won with Florida.
most teams, I heard Florida might circle back on him. I've heard Nashville might be interested. And main things I'm hearing right now, I'm hearing he's open to taking a 1 year deal, either 5.5 to 6.5 million, which I think is a very good contract for Hoffman. Him to bet on himself on a 1 year deal, go out next year, make money if he has a good season. Once again, I can see Nashville making a run out of Florida. Maybe even a team like New Jersey, if they're looking to add a little secondary, not secondary scoring for them, but that'd be primary scoring for New Jersey. So maybe even a team like that. Maybe even a team like Boston. We haven't really talked about this. I should have mentioned this, but I don't even know if you know this. Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak might not be ready by the time next season roll around. They're getting surgeries. Pastrnak, I think it's his hip. Marchand's his shoulder. Do not hold me to that. Maybe sports hernia. It might be a hernia.
I think they got their surgeries already.
No, but they did. But it's going to be a recovery time. We're looking at like,
time. Yeah,
of course. They're going to miss time next season. So maybe with that, they throw one of them on LTIR for the time being. I don't know if that's possible, just based on their return times. Maybe they make that work somehow, and they sign a guy like Hoffman because they can certainly need depth. Maybe if they trade DeBrusque, I don't know what it works, but I could see Boston being interested. Maybe Columbus too. I don't know what their cap space situation is, but
well,
team like Columbus.
Realistically, Dubois is going to be.
That's what I'm saying. I know they don't have a lot, but Dubois has to take up. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Columbus doubtful, but a lot of teams could use Hoffman. Like even like an Ottawa or Detroit, they could give him a call, sign him for like 1 year, like what Buffalo did. Buffalo had cap space. They brought in Taylor Hall on a 1 year deal. He's going to play with Eichel. Maybe that's what they do with Hoffman. Be like, yo, you're going to play with Larkin and Mantha on the top line.
Yeah,
maybe that entices Hoffman to come in there. He could score goals playing with Larkin and Mantha.
Dude, Larkin's fucking really good too. I don't think anyone realizes how good he is.
Mantha just can't stay healthy.
Mantha as well, yeah. So honestly, I could see that, but the thing with Nashville that I don't like about the idea is like they can afford him, and like I guess they in a way they could use him. Mm-hmm. They need centers more than anything.
They do. They just got rid of 2 centers. They got rid of Bonino and they got rid of Granlund. So I mean, they did add Luke Kunin, so maybe he slides in as a 3rd C, and they just throw in. I think they got Nick Cousins, so he's probably gonna be the 4th C for them. So they don't necessarily need a center, but wouldn't hurt. But Hoffman, I feel like, would be a great addition on that team. Another UFA out there, Mike Hoffman's former teammate, Evgeny Dadonov. What do you see with Dadonov? I haven't heard much on Dadonov.
We said this before. I don't see Florida losing both Hoffman and Dadonov.
That's what we thought with Vancouver. We thought that with Vancouver. See what happened?
I don't know. I just don't see Dadonov going anywhere else. I think he's gonna stay in Florida. I just don't know like when. Like I don't really know who else is going to call for him.
Term is like. Do you think he takes a 1 year deal? Do you think he goes more of a 3 year deal? I don't think he goes over that because he's not young. Dadonov's what, 32, 33? Like he's up there.
I'm pretty sure he's 31.
31. He's definitely like in his 30s. He's a little past his prime. Like I wouldn't give him 6 year deal. That's not smart. But just based off the way the market's worked, I don't think he's going to get a 6 year deal. So,
absolutely not.
I like based on teams that might go after Dadonov, every team we've said for Hoffman would probably be in a guy like Dadonov. Maybe even like a Vancouver if he's cheap. They need scoring depth. They lost to Foley. Maybe on a 1 year deal. Because they have some cap space and they don't need it now. They need it next season to sign Pedersen and Hughes. So a 1 year deal wouldn't necessarily hurt them. So I can see
Right.
maybe something happened like that, but I'd say doubtful, honestly. Let's move on to I'd say probably the best defenseman left. Sammy Vatanen. What are you thinking on Vatanen?
Um, honestly, a number of teams could use him. Like
Mm-hmm.
the New York Rangers could have used him, but they're not going to go after him. So, but again, a lot of teams could go after him. He's a great power play quarterback.
You know what? You
Um,
know what I'm thinking? I think he might go back to New Jersey.
that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm really thinking he might return to the Devils.
I could even see Ottawa, maybe even LA, maybe gives him a cheap deal. LA's been quiet. I don't know what LA's cap situation's like, but
They
maybe a
got
team
plenty.
like that. Yeah, I figured they could go after Vatanen. Maybe even Boston to fill in what Krug left behind. And I don't think we've talked about this. We haven't really heard what Char is gonna do. Like, I don't think we know for like 100% sure that Char is gonna stay in Boston. I don't
Um,
know. Do you think he dares to play on another team, or think he calls it quits, or do you think he does end up staying with Boston? Because that's interesting. I really haven't heard a lot on Chara.
I don't, I don't think, I don't think he's gonna retire. I just think he's either gonna walk and go somewhere else or stay in Boston. I'm
You
not
know,
really
they
sure
they
yet.
could be waiting to see what happens with the Brusque, how that negotiations go. Maybe they're
Right.
looking at
Yeah.
a guy like Hoffman, so they're like, "Hey, Char, like, hold on, we're gonna offer you a contract, but we don't know what's gonna be yet. Like, we gotta wait." So it could be a situation like that, maybe. Uh, I like Vatanen in Boston. I don't know if it's the best fit, but I feel like Boston could benefit from a Vatanen after losing Krug. Just an offensive defenseman. He's certainly the best available.
Yeah. No. I don't know. I see Vatanen just being a New Jersey Devil again.
I see that.
Just
I see that likely. Also, another player I don't think a lot of people expect to hit the market. Anthony Duclair. He's an unrestricted free agent. We haven't heard a lot out of Duclair, where he's going to end up. He is representing himself. Like, he does not have an agent. So he's doing all negotiations himself. So it's interesting what maybe he thinks he's worth. He scored 25 goals. So he could value himself what 25 goal scorers are making. So personally, I think he takes a 1 year deal, prove himself contracts. I'm looking at the Canucks maybe. They were looking to add a top six forward. He's not. I don't think he's going to be over 3.5, right? Over three.
no, no.
I
I
can't
don't think
see it
so.
being over that. Maybe even lower, like 2.5, two. I think if Vancouver picks him up like that, it'd be a great signing. Who else? Like the Devils. It'd be a great pickup for the Devils. Even like the Flyers if they have cap space. Team like that.
I was
Add some
definitely looking at
secondary
the
scoring.
Flyers. Yeah.
Or I don't know. There's a lot of teams. Even like Minnesota. I'm looking at my wall here. They can add him. And like just saying, a lot of teams could use a young, maybe 30 goal scorer potentially. I don't know. We'll see. I think like uh,
I
maybe
don't
in a
know. He's
Boston.
kind of
Maybe in a Boston. If with Pasternak and Marchand not playing the start of the year, throw Duclair in the top six. Hey, you never know. He could be a fit. He's proved he can play there before. So
yeah. That's gonna be pretty interesting actually because he's a good depth player, but
he is,
depending on
yeah.
where he goes, he could also be a good
He also could return to Ottawa. We can't rule that out either. He could
yeah.
easily just return to Ottawa. So yeah, I think a lot of doors open for Duclair. Who do you want to talk about next? Let me look.
Mikael Granlund.
Mikael Granlund. Good. Yeah, Mikael Granlund. He got moved to Minnesota. He got moved to Nashville from Minnesota. Before at the trade deadline, not last season before that. He never worked there. He just never really clicked with Nashville like he did with Minnesota. In Minnesota, he was great, scoring 70 points a year, first line center. He was amazing. And then he got traded to Nashville, and it just didn't work out for him. So it's interesting. Is he the player he was in Nashville, or is he the player he was in Minnesota? And maybe that's what teams are like, maybe not confident in to make a decision on him yet. You think?
Even if he's the player he was in Nashville, you still can take him on a cheaper
That's what I'm
deal.
saying. Like, even the player that he was in Nashville, he's better than Kyle Turris, who got signed for 1.6. So you got to think he's going to make more than that, obviously, because Granlund's better than that. I could see Granlund taking maybe a 1 to 2 year deal. I think he goes 1 year deal. honestly, because if he signs somewhere and it's a fit, he can get back to a 70-point pace, and
Yeah,
he can
exactly.
go sign for 7 over like 4 years or 5 years, whatever. So I think he takes a 1 year, 3.5 deal, $4 million deal, signs at a place that's going to be a good fit. I don't know where. Maybe. Uh,
I know a place that desperately needs him, but
oh,
the general manager just isn't budging.
yeah, New
Wish I
York.
could. Wish well, he definitely watches this podcast. Like, how could you not watch this
Oh
podcast?
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
realistically. No, I seriously have no idea like where he's gonna go at this point. I was pretty confident that the Rangers were gonna take a shot at him. They just didn't. I don't think they're doing
I don't
anything
know.
like that. So
Maybe Detroit. They add a little center depth. They could use center depth. They have cap space. Maybe. Maybe he goes back to Minnesota. We really never thought about that. He could have returned to Minnesota.
I don't know. It's like you have to think about like unless there's
Minnesota
moves
needs
being made,
centermen. Minnesota needs a centerman. Like they traded Stahl, they traded Koivu,
they
moved out
do.
Coyle, moved out Donato. Like they moved out all of their centermen the past like whatever 2 seasons.
But you have to think about this
Hmm.
as free agency goes and as people are spending their cap, not many people can afford him. Like
You're right.
the list of teams
The
that can
asking
afford
price is
him
gonna go down.
and need him is narrowing down. Like as of right now, I would say the only teams that could afford him that also don't have any RFAs that they have to worry about right now. Um,
Not many teams.
unless barring any moves,
Hmm.
there's only about like
Less than half the
10 to
league. Less than
10
half
to
the league.
yeah 10 to 13 teams that could afford him.
Jesus Christ, man, that's unbelievable. It's crazy how many teams are that close to the salary cap where they're just unable to do anything. Like there's probably about like 8 teams that like are unable to do anything right now.
Right.
I can name like 5 off the top of my head. Like it's crazy. All right, moving on from Granlund. Is there anyone else notable? Uh, you know a name that really nobody's been mentioning like whatsoever?
Hmm.
Ilya Kovalchuk.
Yeah. Wow. I thought he
Wh-
was gonna retire, but
Nah, no way. I don't see it. He played really good in Montreal. He got bought out by the Kings. He signed a cheap deal in Montreal. He really looked like he fit in well. Like he produced pretty well, scored some big goals for them. Then he went to Washington at the deadline. He played all right. Didn't really shine that much. Washington got bounced in the first round. Didn't really get a chance to do much. What do you think? Where do you think he goes? Do you think he takes a cheap deal? I could see him taking like a really cheap deal again, but I can also
yeah,
see him wanting a little money. I don't know. What do you think he does?
he might want like a healthy mix, like in between. The question is where he's gonna go. Uh,
Honestly, maybe throwing out like a good team like Boston. Boston, I think, would be a really good fit for Kovalchuk. Give him a 1 year, $700K contract. Kovalchuk can play in the top 6, and you just don't know what's happening with players in Boston's top 6. There's like 3 big question marks:
exactly.
Marchand,
Based on
Pasternak, and DeBrus. Injuries, and one doesn't have a contract for next season. So
exactly.
if you sign Kovalchuk to a really cheap contract, I think that's great. Honestly, I think that'd be a great deal for Boss. He could play on the power play. He's like a player like Bobby Ryan. I feel like mostly every team would call up Bobby Ryan and want him for the contract that he was given. And I feel like that's the same deal with Kovalchuk. Maybe a team like the Blue Jackets too. They could be after Kovalchuk. I feel
Yeah,
like
they could.
he'd be a good fit in Columbus. They have some cap space, very little. Maybe Carolina, or even maybe Buffalo.
I was thinking Buffalo before.
There's so many possibilities for Kovalchuk. He could even go to winter. He could sign in fucking Tampa Bay for all we fucking know. Like we don't know. Like or
It's
even the
all up in the
Islanders.
air with
Honestly,
him.
the Islanders, he'd be really good with the Islanders. The Islanders need scoring depth.
They do, but like
They have no cap space. That's the thing.
I don't
Like
even know if they have enough to sign Barzal yet, let alone
they have
Barzal
enough
and
they
Kulak.
have enough to sign bars. They have enough to sign one of them. I don't know about 2. We'll see. But let me just check if there's any goalies still remaining out there. Uh,
Craig Anderson,
yeah, Craig Anderson.
if you count him.
No one really that notable actually. Yeah, Craig Anderson. Yeah, he's all right. Jimmy Howard, garbage. Yeah, so actually, I thought there would be more goalies than what there was. So, Not much there. Let me just take a look through the forwards and defensemen again. Uh
I have one forward that we need to discuss,
oh, I think
and
I
you're
know
not
who it
gonna like
is.
it. Jumbo Joe
Yeah, I
Thornton.
figured. Yeah, it's been a shock for a long time. Obviously, I love Jumbo Joe Thornton. Love him. He's great personality. He's a great shark. He's unbelievable. You love Joe Thornton. And the idea of him leaving, I'm completely open to it. There's not like you can make an argument, but there's like they deserve like they really do. They deserve cups. They do. They've been around here for so long. They they really deserve to win a cup. And I feel like I don't know if Toronto's the right fit for Thornton. I feel like he'd be better, and I'd be more down with him going to Boston. I feel like he'd be a better fit in Boston than he would be in Toronto, just based off the ice time that he'd receive.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's not even a third C in Toronto. Like he's barely cracking the lineup.
Uh,
Like right,
you know who needs a center? Nashville Predators.
I see that unlikely. I do. It's either Thornton's not going to sign on a team like Nashville. He's going to sign either with the Sharks or a team that has a clear shot at winning.
Yeah, like he's either gonna stay where he loves it in San
Mm-hmm.
Jose, or he's gonna go
Like he
somewhere
loves it
where.
there. He absolutely loves it in San Jose. I can
Right.
see teams that I'd be very shocked if he went to a team other than the Sharks, the Leafs, Bruins, and the Lightning. On honestly, any other team I'd be shocked. Maybe Dallas, because Pavelski's there. Maybe he goes back to play with Pavs, but I see that unlikely. Those are the only teams that I'd say. Maybe a team in California, but then again, they're not good. So it's really just plug back to San Jose.
The only other option would be LA in that
LA sucks.
situation
He wouldn't go to
because
LA.
they could afford
Why would he
him,
go to
and
LA?
Anaheim can't. So it's probably not another team in California.
It's not going to be LA now that I'm thinking about it. No way.
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't want to see that.
kind of up in the air on.
But no,
on
I'd
Thornton
be.
there.
I'm not torn to the fact of Thornton leaving. I'm obviously open to it. He deserves to win a cup, and honestly, I don't know if San Jose is going to have the opportunity to win a cup this year. I don't know. We'll see. He definitely would help if he stays. He'd be, I think, penciled in as the third line center. I feel like that's a better opportunity than you get in most places, honestly. So we'll see what happens with Jumbo. One more free agent I wanted to get to. Where'd he go? What's
You could say his name while you're looking for him.
Alex Galchenyuk. No, I couldn't
There you go.
remember who it was. Alex Galchenyuk. Former 30 goal scorer in Montreal. Really haven't heard a lot of anyone interested in Galchenyuk. I feel like he'd honestly be a really good pickup for a bunch of teams. He could maybe play in the top six, maybe at some teams.
Depending where, yeah.
Maybe
Like if he goes
Detroit
right.
picks up a Galchenyuk, or even like an Ottawa. I feel like that'd be a great pickup. He's bounced around so much. He's had so many opportunities. He's had the opportunity to play with Pittsburgh. Like most players make a career for themselves in Pittsburgh, and it just didn't work out there. Then it worked out in Montreal for a little bit, then it didn't. Didn't work out in Minnesota. It didn't work out a lot of places. So I don't know. I feel like he definitely will get another opportunity. He's not going to make a lot of money. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, it's any team that needs forward depth or depending on what the
Edmonton?
any team
Maybe
that needs
Edmonton?
forwards help in general. I could see Edmonton going at him.
Even a
Like I
team like
mean,
Boston, like anyone, like I mentioned Boston a lot, but just with the unknown of some of their top players, like it can't hurt to add a cheap guy that could possibly play in your top six. Like that can't hurt you. A guy like
right.
Kovalchuk, a guy like Galchenyuk, a guy like Duclair, a cheap guy that could have the potential to really make an impact, or has the potential to not. And it wouldn't be that big of a deal because you're not giving him a lot of money. So it's low risk, high reward type of contract, and I feel like a lot of teams could be looking at a contract like that, especially with the salary cap the way it is. Like a lot of teams, they're not going to give out long-term deals. So a lot of the guys that are left, I guarantee it's going to be a 1 to 2 year deals. I'd say nothing over that, unless it's an RFA. Then yeah, he might get more than that. So moving on to the final part of this podcast today, we're going to talk about we're both going to name 2 winners and 2 losers from free agency so far. What do you want to do first? Winners? You want to do losers first?
I think it's fair to go losers first, and on a
Losers
positive
first.
note.
All right. So, how about you start off with your first loser?
Uh, Honestly, this is obviously biased of me to say this, but I think the New York Rangers are one of the big losers because
Mm.
if you think about it, they got rid of Stahl's 5 point whatever mil contract, only to sign Jack Johnson to show for it.
That was a great trade
Um,
for Detroit, honestly. Great trade for Detroit.
it was, and to be honest, it wasn't bad for the Rangers either
It
because
wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad for them. It just
but
really Detroit got a free second round pick.
I just don't see the point of trading away all that money if we're not going to sign any UFAs with it. So think the
I
lack
agree.
of movement, like especially after gaining Lafreniere,
Well,
and
Strom,
development.
and D'Angelo have filed for arbitration. Maybe they're preparing for what could be the numbers. Like, I don't know what D'Angelo is gonna get. Like, I don't know if the arbitrator is gonna be,
Yeah.
is he gonna take into consideration that like what the market is, or is he gonna be like based off of previous years? Like, oh, not Strom, D'Angelo put up what he put up, 50 points. What he put something like 40,
He put up a decent amount of points with the
40, something
Rangers
like
this
that.
year. You mean? Yeah, he
50 something was it? Or was it,
it
did he get
was
60?
definitely
40? High 40s?
53,
53.
53,
And how many games? 68,
8,
69, 70?
68.
68. So 52 points in 68 games for a defenseman, that is very good numbers. If you think about it, a defenseman like that, I wouldn't be surprised if he's making $7 million.
Hope not.
That's just like, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, that's a defenseman that's putting up those numbers. Yeah, he could easily make 7. That's the thing. I don't know if the arbitrator is going to take that in consideration. Or he takes in maybe 1 year, he's not worth that. Maybe it's 5.5, maybe it's 4.5. Like, we don't know. It could be anything. So maybe the Rangers are just taking some precaution. It's a second round pick. Yeah, it does hurt, but I guess you'd rather have Strom and D'Angelo than a second round pick, right? So
Yeah.
I guess we'll take that in consideration. But why else do you think the Rangers are losers?
Like I said, just lack of movement and the fact that they just got Lafreniere, who looks incredible. Capo
Yep.
Caco was really showing he's turning into something in the
He could have
play-in
a
season.
rebound year. He needs to bounce back after last year.
Hart nominee, Panarin, Kreider's
Mhm.
got extended, Zibanejad, that whole forward core. I think lack of either going for center depth or defenseman, like they probably could have been like a contending team this year,
Mhm.
which some argue they still are, but I still think the lack of movement or any action in free agency is just, I don't know. I think it's just
Yeah, I agree with
underwhelming.
that. It's frustrating,
Underwhelming.
All right, so moving on to my first loser. I'm gonna go pretty clear choice, Vancouver Canucks. They had, as I mentioned before, they had 3 big RFAs or UFAs, sorry. Tanev, Markstrom, and Toffoli. They brought none of them back. They lost all 3 of them. Yeah, they softened the wound. They brought in Holtby. Yeah, they softened the wound on defense. They brought in Nate Schmidt. But I just feel like Schmidt's an upgrade on Tanev, I think. Holtby's a downgrade on Markstrom, and they didn't do anything with the forward core. I just feel like if Vancouver, they were taking steps in the right direction. They made it to the second round of the playoffs. They had a great year. I just feel like they're taking steps in the wrong direction now. I feel like they didn't keep some guys around. They brought in Schmidt. I mean, for what they had to do, yeah, they had to bring in Schmidt. They had to. Like, Canucks fans were going to lose their minds. They lost 3 big UFAs that the team easily could have kept 2 of them, and they lost all 3 of them. I just feel like just looking at that, I can't look past that. Vancouver takes, I'd say, honestly, the biggest L of free agency.
I could agree with that.
Yep.
I could see why you'd think that. Yeah.
All right, who is your final loser of the draft or the free agency? Sorry.
Honestly, similar reasoning to the Rangers. I think Nashville could be considered losers of free agency
What do you think that?
because you just lost Turris and you just lost Granlund.
Okay.
And they made little to no moves to fill either hole aside from trading for Lukunin, but I don't count that as a free agency move. I count that as a trading move.
They did make some small depth moves. They brought in Cousins and Richardson.
I
That's what I'm saying. It's not good enough.
that's
Not
not
good
gonna do
enough.
it. Like they
Not good
honestly just
enough.
went from a big contending team to it doesn't look too promising just
Based on
based on
last
the
year, I wouldn't even call Nashville a big contending team. Nashville's like honestly, I'd say like 2 years ago when they won the President's Trophy, made that cup run. Yeah, Nashville was a good competitive team, but I don't know. They've kind of just lost it. Pekarine's lost a little bit. I feel like some of their forwards have lost a little bit. Johansson doesn't look the same. Even Arvidsson, he's been beat up, injured like every year. He hasn't been healthy. I don't know. I feel like they gotta make a big change in Nashville. I feel like they gotta move one of those big core guys out. I don't know who it is. I don't think it's Duchesne. They just signed Duchesne. They just brought him in. I don't think it's Forsberg. But maybe it's a guy like Johansson. Maybe it's a guy like Arvidsson. They'd move someone out, or maybe even it's a guy on the blue line. I don't think it's one of those guys. I think they have been the problem. Ellis, Yossi, Ekholm, and then Fabro. They've been excellent. But maybe a change in goals coming soon. They got Saros coming in. He's looking to take the reins from Rene. I don't know. But Nashville, they're in kind of a little confusing spot right now. They're like in between a contender and like not a contender. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
They're
hopeful.
mediocre. Yeah, basically. So I think a good free agent signing would benefit them, but they just haven't done it yet. They cleared cap and they did nothing. So based on that, losers. And my final loser, I'm gonna go with the Chicago Blackhawks for my final loser. And here's why. So they extended Kubalik. Okay, they did that. Fine, good extension. Still on RFA, as you mentioned before. It was a good, solid contract. They just, I feel like when you have Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews on your team, you can't afford to not be gunning for a Stanley Cup. You got what I'm
Right.
saying? And just everything Chicago's done. They let Crawford walk. They've brought Sod back like twice. They've just everything that's gone on there. Just even this year, especially, they haven't made the right moves. I like the Zadorov trade. I feel like they did good there, but just they haven't. I don't think they're bringing in the right people to help Kane and Taves win. Like they're a little like they're not happy in Chicago. They weren't happy to see Crawford go. I can't imagine they was happy to see Sod go, even though they've brought him in like fucking twice. They bought out Mata. I mean, like they continue to keep making change. Like they continue to change everything, and it just hasn't worked out. They continue to make change, and they're just not. They're not changing what they need to change. They need to overhaul their blue line. They need a defender. That's I feel like what they're honestly lacking. They're lacking a big, solid defender. They got Keith. Keith's great, but he's old. Keith isn't doing much. They got Boqvist. He could be what they're looking for, but I just feel like they're mainly lacking on the blue line. And their goaltending for this season,
Oh yeah, that's a
I'm
huge
shocked. I'm
hole.
generally shocked. They got Malcolm Subban and Colin Delia, which I don't even think they have a combined 50 games of NHL experience. I don't know. I don't like the target they're taking just based off the goaltending. Like, just look at that.
I think the
Just
front
look
office
at
needs
it.
to change
They got it. They
just
just
based on
need.
the lack.
It's not 2015 anymore. The Hawks aren't good. They haven't been good for like 4 years now. And
Exactly.
they either got to tear it all apart or they got to make some big core changes there because just what Chicago doing just isn't working out. So,
I
yeah, so
agree.
I think they're another loser of free agency so far. So let's end the negativity. Let's get to the positivity. Who do you think is a winner so far in free agency?
I think this one's easy just because they, in my opinion, they just finished. They got the last piece of the puzzle they needed. Calgary Flames. Not only did they get Tanev from Vancouver, they also
Mhm.
got Jacob Markstrom from where'd they get him from? Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Um, so I don't know. I just think one Tanev just kind of like he just kind of buffins up the blue line a little bit,
Mhm.
especially after losing Brody. But like I said before, their team has always been lacking that it factor in a goalie who can, really because again, if you look at their forward core and the defensive core, it's pretty damn good. Like
Just
I
think
think it's
about this.
capable.
Who's been the best Flames goaltender since Kiprasov?
Fucking why am I blanking on his name?
Who's
Mike
been the
Smith,
guy?
maybe.
Jonas Hiller? Who's been the guy in Calgary? David
The fact that we
Riddick.
can't, the fact we can't
Yeah,
answer
that's
that,
the
that's
problem.
the
You can't
problem.
answer the question because there hasn't been a guy. So they finally got a good starting goalie. They add to the blue line. Like I said before, the blue line's not complete. They're still going to make changes. There's still open spots there. And the forward core, it's not bad. It really isn't bad. Solid top six, solid depth forward scoring. I think Calgary could make a run. They got Markstrom, and he basically carried Vancouver to the playoffs last season. So I
Yeah.
think I would not be surprised to see the Flames win in the Pacific Division, getting back to where they were 2 seasons ago with the moves they made. So I think good signings by the Flames. I think they did well. And for my winner, I'm gonna have the Edmonton Oilers as my winner, my first winner. Brought in Ennis, brought in Tourist. I really like the Barry signing. I really do. I think that's such a good signing for Edmonton. It's so cheap. It's literally exactly what they need. They don't have Clefbaum. They need that number one power play guy. They need a number one defenseman. I think he's going to be a good tandem with Darnell Nurse. I feel like just their, play styles. Nurse is a big defensive guy. Barry's going to do the offensive stuff. It's just, I feel like that might be
Right.
a good pairing, good fit for him. I think Barry's going to explode. I think he's going to have a career year in Edmonton. Really like what they did. Ken Holland's doing good stuff up there. And Kyle Turris, too. They needed a third line center, and they addressed it. I feel like, said it again, he wasn't a fit in Nashville. He really wasn't. I feel like he can come into Edmonton. He's not going to replicate what he did in Ottawa, but he
No.
might get kind of close to it depending on power play time. But he can
Yeah.
definitely have a good season.
I still think that contract is a bigger steal than people are like
No,
realizing.
definitely. 1.6 million, like Kyle Turris, like 4 years ago, that would have been like, what? He was making 6 million. He made 6 mil for a reason. He was good before that. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think Edmonton did really good work. And Ennis too. He was great forward depth for them. Like you just need forward
Yeah.
depth. Every team needs a guy like Ennis on a cheap deal like that. It's great signing for them. So yep, I think Edmonton did a great job and they're definitely a winner.
I could agree with that. My second winner is gonna be who landed biggest forward in the agency pool this year, Taylor Hall, Buffalo Sabres.
Oh yeah.
I think while they didn't completely get everything they needed, because I still think goaltending's a little bit of a problem, and they could use a bit more defensive depth, maybe just someone better in general. They still got Taylor Hall, who I think if he's on the same line as Jack Eichel,
he will be. Most definitely will be.
I think their top six is probably one of the better ones in the league now after the moves they made.
I 100% agree. I love Buffalo's top six. And I really would not be surprised to see Buffalo in the playoffs next season. Honestly, I wouldn't.
Neither would I.
Wouldn't be.
Taylor Hall might just put him over the edge to get into the playoffs.
Honestly, how is Lundqvist? Realistically, if he were to go to Buffalo now with the changes they made, would you honestly hate it that much? They're not cup contenders. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're cup contenders, but they're definitely playoff contenders. Buffalo is taking steps in the right direction.
I wouldn't fuck with him going there. Again, that was one of the stupidest takes I've ever heard you take in my entire life.
It's not even that bad of a take. It realistically now
it was a horrible take.
It kind of makes sense. It kind of does. It doesn't.
When you said it, it was a stupid ass take. I'm sorry.
Okay, moving on. I disagree with that. It's not a bad take, honestly. But where were we? I honestly forgot.
Taylor Hall going to the Buffalo Sabres.
Taylor Hall going to the Buffalo Sabres. Yeah,
makes them a playoff.
Great move. Taylor Hall. The way I'm looking at it. So, just if anyway, Buffalo, the Sabres win this signing no matter what happens. So, let's say Taylor Hall flops. Let's say he sucks in Buffalo. It's still Taylor Hall. He still won a Hart Trophy. And he's still going to get a fucking haul if you trade him. So, if he sucks here, just trade him at the trade deadline. Get a haul for nothing, basically. And there you go. Recoup some assets. And if he does work out, then you have a potential line mate for Eichel for the future. Like there's no way Buffalo loses this. There's a
huge cushion behind if he falls, pretty much. Like if he ends up being very underwhelming, then there's a huge cushion that you could just trade him and get.
And he's not signed long term either. Like if it doesn't work out, you can't be like, oh, we got this guy for 7 years now. Nope, 1 year deal, tradable contract. You can retain half that salary. Really good signing for Buffalo. I really like what they did, and they did bring in some depth. Tobias Reeder Brandon Davidson, Matt Irwin, Cody Eakin, who's a piece of shit, but he's a decent depth forward. Got to give him that. So, yeah, I think Buffalo definitely is a winner of free agency so far. And moving on to the last winner that we have for you guys today, the Detroit Red Wings. Yes, they have won something against
Yay!
against everyone's initial thought. They have won something. I like the moves they did. It's Detroit. That we all know they had a terrible year last year. And the fact that they were able to get veteran players to come there, good on them. Good on Stevie Y. They got John Merrill, 1 year, $925K. Bobby Ryan, 1 year, great contract. Thomas Greiss, 2-year contract. Mestikov, 2-year contract. And they got Stetcher, too, from Vancouver. So I think Detroit really did good. I really do. They got NHL players, and that's honestly all you can ask for as a Red Wings fan. Like, they didn't make a splash. They didn't go get a Torrey Krug, a Petrangelo, but they got better. Detroit definitely got better. So I think that's a win for them. And they got a second-round pick in the Stahl trade, so free second-round pick for Detroit.
It's a huge step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah. They actually have depth now, so they can complement their youth, their great young core with this depth now coming in. And the depth they already have. So Detroit's definitely going to be better. They won't be as bad as they will next year. Will they make the playoffs? No. Will they be close? Probably not. But I could definitely see them being around 70, 75 points, I think. Maybe 80. But definitely better from what they had, like 40 last season.
More than last year.
Yeah, they had like 40.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see them bounce back. So, and the future looks bright in Detroit. So good on Stevie Y. I like him. Great GM. So we'll see what he's got cooking up there. We'll see what Detroit's future is looking like. But I think we're wrapping this one up now.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's podcast. Make sure to go watch our other previous podcasts and make sure to stay tuned for Chuckin Muffins daily uploads.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, like the video, leave a comment even. And yeah, that's it, boys. See you guys later.